Shit happens.
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
Now, about in terms of their education, my oldest is a that I've seen is a nurse out there, Facebook, running it, young, dirty. She hit the ground running when she that's my scientist. Hit the ground running when she got her nursing degree out of Penn. Okay, my older one, I mean my younger one, is a content writer. That's what she. Sometimes I have to pull out the little piece of paper to describe her little occupation. But she works for a company called Brand Yourself. Real different, It's when somebody talks about you on the internet and social media. Well, she gets to you and she raises your algorithms up. So she but I mean, and she does really well. But it's taking her just a little bit longer. She knew that when she went to college and graduated. I said, you're not going to hit the ground running. It's going to take you a little bit of time to trek up. But the part about what you said about plumbers making more than doctors, I just remember the time when they both, when they graduated out of high school, and I said to them, I said, I just want to say that you don't have to do it just because, I did. I went off, to college and got the little piece of paper and so on and so forth. I said, but I just want to say that I don't see anyone running around here in my house playing with the plumbing, the electrical, and under the roof of my car singing like Whitney Houston.
I think you just did mute there.
See, it goes away. Maybe you come back. Oh, there you
Yeah.
are. And so I said, so I don't see you doing those things. And they're like, well, yeah, no, mom, we're going. And so they went off. They both went into serious debt. Now I didn't pay for it because I mean, I was just very matter of factly with my ladies. Like I was getting ready to say kids, children, the ladies now. It's just like, okay, this is you choose what drives you. The older one was a scientist. That's what she liked. She did, you fit her inside a little box and she's great. Okay. The younger one, she's all outside the lines. Okay, that's my life. Okay, you make it work. You remember what I talked about? Adaptability. You adapt. Adaptability. Okay. I mean, this is what I want to do. This is what I like to do. But sometimes it's going to be forces that may not go with what I'm all about, what I want to do, and so I adapt. That's how
No, you
make
got
it.
to adapt. And speaking of adapting, I'm gonna bring
Yeah.
in another guest, which is Aswan, and Aswan is definitely an adapter, like you, Kat. I met him through the wonders of Clubhouse and everything, and definitely some of those rooms and spaces. But I mean, he's doing so many entrepreneurship businesses. I lose track because I mean, I think there's like a liquor company, a shirt company. There might be a variety of other things that are in there as well. So, Aswan, share a little bit about all these amazing businesses that you've got. Because every time that I pop in there, I'm going like, how many businesses can a man have? And I thought I was doing pretty well with the various podcasts.
First off, hey King, what's up, Queens? Been listening in, love all the content and the information you guys been providing. I'm sure it's beneficial for a lot of your listeners, Marcus. Man, so first and foremost, I'm an actor, and I'm a slash entertainer slash serial entrepreneur. I just, having the level of control and having the freedom to live life to my standards is what I pride myself on. So outside of acting, like you mentioned, the vodka company, which was actually started by my godbrother. And I've been in the liquor industry as well for 10 years. So basically just applying my knowledge and helping him build his company. And I also have a photography business. We're doing portraits, headshots, and things like that. Coaching. I love coaching, mental health. So it's a health and wellness coaching business. And just trying to be impactful in any way that I can. Similar to the ladies that you have on the show, I'm also a Marine Corps veteran. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, I should say. Served 4 years in the Marine Corps, went in after 9/11 happened, and decided to get out and pursue the lifestyle that I wanted to have.
I'm glad you brought that up, guys, Juan, because that was actually the next question I was going to ask Kat, and you actually referenced it earlier, and hopefully Karen will come back later and everything, but you actually kind of referenced it earlier, which is that sometimes I feel that while there are skills that are trained in the military, you don't always know whether they whether they go back into civilian life. I mean, we've seen that, and I hate to bring it up, but we've seen it to some degree, even with like the police, like, doing it in the military police and doing it in the real policing world is a little bit different. And I think that that's kind of where some of those bad officers come in our civilian police forces and everything, because they might have had a certain way of doing things and maybe even allowed to do certain things when they were in the military and in another place and in another country. And I don't even think that it's just that. I'm not even sure that the medical field is all the same, because a lot of the medicine that has to be done in the military is very much you've got to do a lot of adapting that you might not have to do as much of in an actual hospital, because there things are a little bit more structured. Even if they're doing surgery, it's more structured. Whereas I used to be a fan of MASH, so I'm dating myself, so I know that it can get a little bit harried, and you can do a little bit.
Hey, you gotta love MASH, man. I used to watch MASH too, so I guess I'm dating myself a little bit more too.
Yeah, so but there used to be a lot of that kind of like try to put it together as best you can, kind of the MacGyver way of doing medicine and everything that you wouldn't necessarily have to have in a hospital. So I'm just using those as two examples. But to both of you, is that something that you run across, that sometimes people had a hard time, maybe even as entrepreneurs, and Juan, and definitely you, Kat, when you're talking to people, making that adaptation from the military into what people consider the civilian world?
Yes, Juan, do you want to go first?
No, please, ladies first.
Oh, thank you. I think what the military taught me and teaches others is in the military is that when something happens, like if there's, like, say for instance, you're in a state that gets a lot of snow and you get stuck on the side of the road, the military teaches you not to panic, to figure out what you've got around you that you can utilize to help keep you warm until help comes. The problem of the jobs and things that people do in the military don't exactly transfer over to civilian life. They just don't. Now, I was a communications project manager, and you think, oh, great, that transfers over. No, even though I had 20 years, they wanted a degree. They wanted a piece of paper. And I said, okay, you know what? No. And I pivoted and I went a different direction, and I kept at it, until I felt like I was making a dent in the fitness industry, and I've been doing fitness ever since. So rather than just quit and say, oh, I can't get what I want, I decided to reinvent myself a few times, to go in the direction that I would like to go. And, that's how I came on to podcasting. I just said, you know what, I want to do this. It's in my heart, it's in my soul, so I'm going to do it. And I did.
And what about you, Aswan?
Personally, again, like she mentioned, not everything completely transfers over, but I believe that the military in general also does instill some really good qualities in you that are transferable, right? It's pretty much similar to any job that you hold, right? Any job that you have, whether you're working at McDonald's, whether you're working at a grocery store, whatever it is, there's qualities and traits that you can take from that job with you. So I say, take all the good things that you can, right? The operations or how things are kind of done, right? Take some of those good qualities with you, and all the negative and the bad stuff, you ball it up and trash it, right? You don't want anything to do with it. But for the military, for me personally, I was military police. I was also motor T. I think what happens is first setting the intention. So if you go in with a set intention, I know initially, I love cars. So I was like, oh, I'll have a car shop and do this or do stuff around cars. So yeah, motor T. So I had a set intention, but then it shifted, and I ended up augmenting over to military police. I knew I didn't want to do that in civilian life, even though I went through a lot of training to also train cops. So it's, funny enough that you speak on that, because I was a military police as well, and trained to do monotony certifications. I had all of that, emergency vehicle driving, instructing, and those things do transfer over. But again, you take the discipline that you get from the military, the patience, and it's a lot of different things that they really do instill in you that we don't look at as transferable traits, right? Because oftentimes we're trying to compare apples to apples, meaning I have a motor T job. What motor T job can I get in a civilian life? And it's not necessarily about that. I believe personally, I don't know, I think I've just been able to transition into any career field or any job or business I wanted to have, just because I think the discipline is one of the biggest things, right? And also the patience, because I think often, and I witness this as I talk to more people and coach people, we have a tendency to believe like our perspective on life should be that way, and it's simply not true. There's many different ways of living and being successful, and we really just have to be a little bit more conscious in all the decisions that we're making. So yeah, I think there are some qualities that you can transfer over into the civilian life. It's just a matter of what you're focusing on and, what you really want to do with yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. And while I'm thinking about it, I was also wondering both of y'all's thoughts about what I call the opposite direction. Because like I said, I did talk about the military that then goes into policing, but then you also have the police to decide that they want military equipment. And I haven't figured out why they want all this military equipment, because I'm sitting there going like, I know y'all want to control the gangs and everything, but I don't know that I need to see a tank rolling down my streets and everything. So I'm just using that as an extreme version. But sometimes they do some of those things and you're going like, no, I don't know that I need that rolling down the streets of Durham or even the streets of some of the smaller towns or even the bigger cities. Maybe they do need that in some of them.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about that. We just never know why anybody, why the government do any other things that they do. And you can go into the system of things and when things were actually put in place, right? To really kind of, again, it's a tricky subject, honestly, because even talk about policing in general, right? Like, so in the military, we police each other, right? Doesn't matter what your career field is, we police each other, right? So we make sure that our squad is doing what they need to do, the whole platoon, right? Your unit. So we have that, and that's the one thing the police don't really have. They don't have where they're policing each other, because not all police are bad, right? They're not all evil or whatever, right? One, you have the system being what it is, and then two, you have a collective of people who kind of just like, yeah, you shouldn't have did that, but it is what it is, right? And they're not doing anything to correct one another. And I believe that that's where, one of the biggest places where it needs to start. It needs to start from inside, even with the system being what it is. If they police each other more appropriately, I think we'll get better results in terms of the police. And, they really just need to take off, protect and serve, because I don't know who all they're protecting and serving. But but anyway, so that's a different.
No, I agree with you. What are your thoughts on that, Kat, and everything? And I had a question about entrepreneurship, but I do agree with you, because I know that even in talking to some of my relatives and friends in the military, I do sometimes get frustrated. And actually, one of the guys that I do a more traditional audio podcast with is in the correction system. He's actually in that administrative side, and he will tell you that he is not a big fan of folks that don't want to not necessarily rat him out, but don't want to at least hold those that are accountable that are doing bad things, whether it's around racism or whether it's around corruption or whether it's around whatever. So that whatever they call that blue line and everything can be very real and everything. So he's definitely adamantly against that and wishes that more people would actually step up.
I totally agree with what he was saying. You know, in the military, you have a line of protection, and what I mean by that is, you know, if someone comes and just berates me or says something to me that I don't like, there's someone I can go to and say, you know what, this happened. You know, and in the military, they always teach you to write things down. If you have a written journal with names, dates, times, etc., who was around, and you give that to someone, they're going to go, "Oh, okay, we have to believe her that this is happening," you know. And you know, in the military, you can only get away with so many things, you know, because someone's going to go, "Yeah, you weren't supposed to say that, or you weren't supposed to do that." But also in, you know, on the outside, there isn't, like as one was saying, there's no policing. There's no policing the police. But, you know, people, you know, watching out for each other. You know, even partners, you know, when one partner's doing something wrong and the other partner's just standing there watching, and I'm like, what were you doing? Why didn't you say something? You know, but then it's that what do you call the blue line, you know, where you're not allowed to, you know, and I think that's good in some instances and bad in a lot of instances.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. As one, and actually, I think Kat can answer this as well. As an entrepreneur, switching topics slightly and everything, what made you decide? And then Kat can bring it up in terms of podcasting. But what made you decide to go into a field that is not necessarily have a lot of us in it? Because, like I said, it is the vodka field. I did name some others that are in the field that I'm aware of, like Southern Wicked, and of course, my good friends run a show here called Shoe Crazy, which is more of the wine industry, and there are a couple of others that I'm aware of as well. But I don't know that there's a lot of us in the spirits industry and the liquor industry. So what made you decide that you wanted to go into this whole spirits thing as a military person? Because historically we were involved, because I know for a fact that there was a whole race car industry that involved bootlegging and things of that nature, because NASCAR actually came out of that, and there were some of us that were the drivers back in the day. And
yeah, prohibition.
We'll talk about that history.
Yeah, honestly, it goes back to I suppose the same reason why I decided to even, one, join the military, two, get out of the military, three, just pursue anything that I want to pursue. It starts with the interest, and then applying knowledge and learning actually different things. So when it's funny because I actually stumbled into the spirits industry to begin with. And it just kind of happened. It organically happened by me making conscious decisions to do something, right? Because I can't remember who it was, but when I first got out, I actually sold cars for a couple years, rose through the ranks of that, walked away from that, you know, was in insurance for a while, a little bit of retirement planning, working for a Fortune 500 company. And although I was good at those and making good money and things, it didn't fulfill me. So I kind of leaned towards lifestyle and fulfillment. So with it really just being something that interests me, and the opportunity that's there, that was pretty much what made the decision kind of easy.
That makes sense. Kat, two parts. What are some of the unique stories? Because I'm sure you found some unique stories about women that are doing some unique businesses as you've been talking to them that were veterans. And I'm sure there have probably been some maybe that were military that went into the spirits industry or went into some of these other unique industries. And then as a continuation of that, what about podcasting drew you into it? Because definitely I know that you're part of those club pod rooms, and every time I turn around, you're usually giving a lot of great wisdom and a lot of great thought, and I'm always glad to hear your voice. Yours is along with Miriam and Jimmy, of course, and a number of others, even Johnny and both Billies are always voices that I'm glad to hear and everything. But what about this whole podcasting world drew you into it? And also, what are some of the unique stories that you have found as you've been talking to your fellow veterans, particularly women veterans?
Well, I think that there's authors, there's travel people who have their own travel business, a lot of coaches, people. I even met a woman who was actually in. She was a witch. You know, she said, "I'm a witch," and I was like, "Okay, cool." You know, like, so I think it's wide open. You know, but I thoroughly believe, and just like Aswan, I did everything. I sold everything. I sold healthcare products. I sold aromatherapy products. I sold makeup. I did all of that. I was even in real estate. I just didn't like it. It wasn't my deal. You know, it was like, okay, it's great, but you know, if I have to convince you, you know, to buy something from me, I don't have the time and I don't have the energy. You either want it or you don't. And that's why I sucked at it, because I was like, I ask you once and you say no, I'm like, okay, I'm good. You know, and podcasting was a thought because I'm with the Women Veterans Network, and I thought it'd be really cool to have a podcast for Woven. And then I thought, you know, if I'm going to be doing all this work, learning how to do it, putting the work in, it's going to be my podcast. And so it was just something it'd been on my mind for a year. COVID happened, and then I said, this is the time to do it. You know, so I either heard or I read, and this was back when we thought COVID was only going to be a few months. And they said, after COVID is over, what can you say you accomplished during that time? And I was like, now's the time to do this. And so I did, and I launched it, and I've been loving it. And this is what's been in my heart and in my gut to do for a year. Next month, it'll be a year since I started, and I'm just having a blast. I'm having so much fun doing it. And this is it's right up my alley. I love to talk, duh. You know, I love meeting people. It's a perfect marriage.
No, I hear you, and that's why I like doing these shows here on International Broadcast Media, because I get to meet fascinating people like all of y'all and everything. So definitely I get to meet great and amazing people. So that's always a blast and fun. So I agree with you, Kat, that is something that happens every week. I look forward to the shows, finding out people's lives and finding out what they're learning about and the different aspects that they've got going on. But I will agree with you that I am a horrible person at sales as well. That's why I do not try to do a lot of sales jobs, even in the podcasting space. That's probably my weakest part, because I know that we have to get sponsors and other things. And I'm oftentimes trying to like add that aspect, but that's not something I'm strong at. So hopefully other people are helping. Anybody's watching and wants to sponsor this show, we are looking for sponsors right now, because that is my weak point and everything.
We sell ourselves every single day, Mark. I mean, we do.
We do.
You don't even know.
We sell
you don't have
without
to say
even
anything.
knowing.
You sell yourself. We sell ourselves every single day, every moment. Okay.
You sell products that you use, that you live by. You selling it to your friends and families without even knowing it. It's literally just mentioning it. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
interesting
sometimes
too.
that people, they question your expertise. And I
Right.
don't know if Karen's been through this, you know, before, but,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I've been in the fitness industry for 37 years. So when people say, oh, wow, you know, you charge a lot for your sessions. And I was like, yeah. And they said, well, why do you charge so much? And I said, you're not charging for the session, you're charging for my expertise.
That's right. Yeah, exactly, Kat. You know, I go into meeting people, you know, not right, pretty much out the gate. I'm the professional. That's what I am. I'm the professional. I live and breathe this for you. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. For you. So that you're empowered with the knowledge that you need in order to get what you like to have. Boom.
It's interesting that both of y'all said that, because one of the things that I know happens a lot of times is that, and I've brought it up on this show with several guests, is that we are also, and I'm glad y'all brought up that point, that we all sell, but we are also our own worst enemies. And a lot of times we listen to those people that are nagging in our ears, and we listen to both our inner conversation, which is telling us that we shouldn't do it or can't do it, but then we also listen to those outsiders that are giving us all the reasons that it's wrong, that it won't work, and all of that. So from all of y'all, because all of y'all are successful entrepreneurs in my mind, how do you get past that, both the inner doubt as well as those naysayers? Because we all have those naysayers in our life. Sometimes I hate to say it, they're even in our own family and in our friend circles, but how do you get past them when they're there?
Unless one of you ladies want to go first, I'll go.
Go for it.
Go for it.
So here's the thing. Unfortunately, and this is, I guess, why I also love coaching. A lot of people give information, and a lot of times it's biased, right? Because it's biased off of their experience or something like that. In our family, because they love us, they don't want to harm us, they don't want to see us fail, they, you know, all of that. So although they really want you to be successful, they're going to give you, you know, unfortunately, not the greatest advice, because it's also fear-based to a degree, right? So they don't want to see you fall at all. So they're going to give you advice to keep you safe, which is also what our brain is designed to do. It's an old brain. So it's designed to protect us. And this is where your gut feeling and all those things come into play, because you got to do what you feel that you should do. So we all have it in general, right? So we have our own brains protecting us, saying, hey, maybe not do that. So that's why the intention and the consciousness comes into play, because knowing why you're trying to strive or do whatever you're trying to do is the one thing. And you say, okay, how can I get the right tools to help me be as successful as I can while I'm on this journey of this? And then you ask the advice. You have to be careful on who you ask in the advice as well, because you can't ask advice of people who haven't tried or haven't done certain things, which ironically enough, we actually do, right? We do it the same thing even when we talk about relationships, right? We're asking other people who are not even in the relationship about something else when you should be talking to the person you're in the relationship with. So
That's right.
it's just being very selective on who you're asking the advice from. And even when you do decide to ask for the advice, you just take it with a grain of salt. You take it for what it is, because a lot of times we want confirmation. And if we don't get the confirmation from somebody, right, that second motion, yeah, you should definitely do it. Then we're like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't do it because everybody's saying whatever, and you don't get the confirmation you want. But you just have to bet on yourself and know that you're doing, you're pursuing it, period. Give it a shot. I don't care what it is. You owe that to yourself to give it a shot, because honestly, if I did not do that, I wouldn't be where I'm at, because I never knew what my 5-year plan was when they was asking me that question when I was, in junior high or middle school or all of that, basically. Like, if you don't have those influences, you don't know. And if you do have those influences, you're going off those influences. Yeah. So you really have to go through motions. I call it trial by error, right? In process of elimination. Oh, I want to make ice cream. Okay, I get an ice cream job. Don't like it. Okay, next. And you just keep pursuing.
I listen to your story, and it's just words like process of elimination and influence. Those weren't even words, for me. And I just think back when, I was born in Boston, I'm a baby boomer, where I came of age was the late 60s, early 70s. And I was born in Boston, but raised in little Roxbury, Massachusetts. Okay. And, primarily all black, not primarily all black. And, I'm 17, and I'm like seeing Peru. I mean, I'm seeing what's all around. I'm like, no. I'm not going down that road, because it just wasn't looking all good. It was heroin, was real, was heavy. Mm-hmm. And anyway, ended up going to college. Didn't just, I don't even know how I did it. I don't know. Somebody in the neighborhood. Okay, go to college. Yeah, okay. The first year I go to Salem, little old State College in Salem, Massachusetts, and it was just like going to high school, because everybody that went there I knew. I knew for the neighborhood, and I guess I got even more. But I was just, oh my goodness gracious. And then I just won't go into the whole story, but I ended up at Boston College the next year, and Boston College just was like, I was an education major. I've never professionally taught it, as you heard, I was casualty insurance. But Boston College was like, well, you know what? We got this program that you can do your student teaching anywhere you want. Well, like I said, in the back of my head, I was like, okay, I don't want to go down this road. I don't want to be in Boston. I want to get out. I say, so where can I go? Well, you can go anywhere you want. I said, what do you mean anywhere I want? Anywhere. I was like, and so a lot of my friends were going to Europe, and I'm just like, nah, I'm not doing Europe. I'm going on vacation, because I got to study and all this stuff. And the dean said, well, you can go to California. Well, I said, California? And he said, well, which one you want to go to, the LA or San Francisco? And I said, well, no, I'll never forget what I said. I said, well, I'll go to the one that, with rice and roni. Okay. Because that's what I saw. That's all I knew. No, 1977. And here comes the influence and the trial and error. No GPS, no nothing. Just went. Okay, no family, no nothing. And it's just, I don't know. I was there for the next 40 years, and here I am now here in 5 years in North Carolina. But I think back, to making that move. And I think, you see, now or back then, it was just like, oh, just I don't know, you just did it. It wasn't trial and error. I just did it. I just went out there and did it. And I think, well, I know now we have so many of the tools. Look at us. I mean, okay, you're in Durham. Where are you, Ashwan?
Well, right. I live in LA right now. I'm in Miami though.
Okay, you're in Miami. Kat, where are you?
Charlotte.
Okay, I'm in.
My mom's out there too.
I mean, it's just like, oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. I just see this, and it's just, we have so many. We have so many tools available to us now.
No, so many tools of access
and so many tools. Actually.
Yes, it is a curse. That's actually what I'm saying, because sometimes you get the access, but you don't even know what the access is. I'm going to give you an example, because I just recently got access, and I've actually brought it up on a friend's show, and they were like, don't worry, go on YouTube. You can figure it out and everything. But, there's these different tools. Like I said, we're using StreamYard here, and I'm very big of a fan of LinkedIn. But, there's this big mammoth company called Amazon, and Amazon will let you be live, but they'll also let you, in order to get live, be an Amazon influencer. So as recently as 3 or 4 days ago, they announced me as an Amazon influencer. I'm sitting here going like, I don't know what this means, other than I will put up my books, and I will tell them I like these books, and hopefully those books will get pushed up to the top, and maybe I'll make some money off of that. But I'm still trying to figure out, because they say it's supposed to be a monetary tool that you can use, but I'm going like, all right. And that's when I called a friend, and they were like, hey, go on YouTube, Instagram, figure it out. They'll tell you what to go on and everything. But like I said, I'm still trying to figure it out. It just happened like a few days ago, and I'm going like, okay, all I know is that I put a couple of things, did an application, and now they're saying I'm an influencer. I don't even know what that means and everything. Kat, you're the podcaster. You got any ideas? What does being an influencer mean? And by the way, I've got to tease you before you answer, because I know that there's certain like fur babies of yours that I think are because I've seen them rolling around in the back and everything. So I think that they are your personal influencers, because I've seen them rolling around in the back. So I don't think that your husband's in charge. I really don't think.
No, the dog is in charge. He's actually 12 years old. He's 12 years old, so he's in charge. But I wanted to say something about the entrepreneur thing. As a lot of times, we listen to other people and we listen to ourselves, but a lot of times it's our ego. Our ego is saying, just stay status quo. Don't go over there. It could be dangerous. Your status, your ego wants to keep you where you are. Right. And your ego actually formulates that imposter syndrome, that big dark figure that makes you not want to go any further. That's good. And the problem is that the closer you get to the imposter syndrome, to that dark figure that you see, it disappears the closer you get to it. And also, as an entrepreneur, you have to remember what you're doing and why you started in the first place. Right. So when I have people who say, oh, I want to do podcasting, I go, okay, what's your why? And they go, huh? I said, what's your why? And they're like, oh, well, everybody's doing it. And I go, that's not a why. That's why. Well, I want to make some money. Well, that's not a why. Why? That's right. Why?
It's a why, but it's not a good one.
It's not the why. It's not the why.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're so right about that. But you're right. That why is so important. And a lot of times we don't think about that why. But then we also sometimes look at the and I'm actually going to switch the topic slightly, because it's coming back to Karen's topic of real estate, because we also sometimes hear rumors of things that may be happening, and then we get people that buy into those rumors. So I'm gonna give you a little story that I heard recently. I've got a good friend of mine, and you'll get a kick out of this, Kat, as well. But they live in outside of in the northern part of South Carolina. So they're like in that part of South Carolina that's near Charlotte. And I know for the last 2 or 3 years, they've been telling me about that practice facility that's over there that the Panthers are building. And they are convinced, I don't know why they're convinced, but they are convinced that that is going to be where the Panthers are eventually going to move. So they are like, I think in the architectural or business field. So I think that they're actually trying to maneuver themselves into a job. But that's just what my personal philosophy is. Because every time I talk to this particular person, they're like, yes, I know, and I know a little bit about the sports world. So I'm like, yes, I know there's a practice facility over there. I know that they practice over there. I've heard no rumors of a stadium being built over there. And I've definitely not heard of Charlotte giving up on a whole football franchise that fast and
Yeah,
everything.
they haven't even broken ground on anything. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
there's no money changing hands.
And that's the important part. There's no money changing hands. Then it's just rumors and things that you think might be happening.
Right.
Until that money changes hands, then it's a real deal and everything. Aswan, what are some of the best life lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur that have surprised you? Because you are in that entrepreneurial space. And by the way, as far as I'm concerned, actors are also entrepreneurs, because I do have friends that are actors as well. So as far as I'm concerned, that's just another form of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for real. Man, something I've learned through entrepreneurship. Surprising. I'm not really surprised. I don't really think I'm surprised. I don't get too surprised. Because for me, if I'm being surprised, that means I had a set expectation. And I'm always in a learning, growing state, learning and yet applying the knowledge I have. So I'm not really too surprised. You know, the biggest thing is preparing, right? So if you prepare to win, then you're in a better position to actually win. You're definitely going to fall on your face. So that's something that, I learned early, but I was an athlete. So, you know, if you're an athlete, you can apply a lot of that to life in general, whether it be acting or entrepreneurship in general. So unfortunately, I don't know if I have an answer in terms of something that surprised me, being in the entrepreneur world, just because I think personally, I knew I was always entrepreneurial, because I was a hustler as a kid. You know, I used to shovel snow and mow lawns and help people with their groceries and pump gas back in the day where you could actually make money. You know, I did a lot of legal hustles. So I was already an entrepreneur as a kid without really, I guess, knowing it or realizing it, you know, because again, that word wasn't really thrown around, you know, as a kid growing up. So it was just, again, I just learned to live in my truth and do what I want to do. And I just always knew I was business oriented because those were the books I enjoyed reading, like for fun. So
was there anything that surprised you, Kat? And actually, I was going to have you loop another part of that in there and everything, because I was wondering, was there anything that surprised you? But I was also wondering, even in the podcasting space, if there was anything that surprised you out of that as well, because sometimes we're surprised by the specific entrepreneurship and then sometimes by the broader sense.
I think I keep surprising myself because as women, we're always thinking about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, where there's, you know, we've always got a list. We were built to multitask, and people always say, oh, multitasking is bad. We have no choice but to multitask. Okay. We just don't. And we tend to just keep going on and on to the next thing, to where when we come up against something that we consider to be difficult, we never look back at what we've been through. So there were times in our lives when it was just, you went through a certain amount of heartache or hurt or something that was very difficult, but you made it through. But we don't look back and go, wow, excuse my French, I'm a badass, okay? Because I've been through that. And so the one thing that surprises me is that I come from a family of W-2s. You know, if we needed more money, my father went out and got another job. That's just what you did. And so I am the only entrepreneurial mind in my family. So it was hard to say, oh, I'm going to do this. And my family's like, ooh, are you sure? You know, what does your husband say? And I'm like, hey, he's on board. But, you know, when I was younger, I would have received that and said, yeah, okay, never mind. And I would have just sat back and not, but now I'm just like, they're like, oh, I don't think you're built for that. I'm like, really? Watch me. Okay, watch me. And in podcasting, the podcast part, I mean, I won't say it's simple, but it was so much fun learning and putting it together, and it still is. The hardest part for me was the whole branding yourself, putting yourself out there.
Right, Kat?
Because as women, we don't do that. Putting myself on IG Live. Are you kidding me? So, I'm like, what have I got to lose? So I'm going to go out there. It's going to be messy. So for those people that are talking about entrepreneur, oh, I want to be entrepreneur. It's going to be messy. You're going to make mistakes. Just accept that and keep it moving.
And keep it moving.
Yeah, you got to keep it moving. There's no doubt about that. You just actually referenced something that's actually where I bet both you, Kat, and Aswan, which is that whole space of Clubhouse and social media. So as an entrepreneur, how important has you found those social media outlets to be? And are there parts of that landscape that get on your nerves? Like I said, I am a fan of Clubhouse. I've sometimes probably spend too much time in Clubhouse, and there are definitely certain rooms that I am definitely loving, like the podcasting rooms and some of the newsrooms, and maybe even kind of rooms like what Annabella does that is about entrepreneurship and things of that nature. I've also been to the engagement rooms, and I've been, because I am an older man that is single, so I've been to some of those dating ones, and some of those can be a little bit hectic and crazy and everything. So I think they're like not too sure about these spaces and everything, but they are sometimes interested as well. But I'm just wondering, what is your thoughts about social media as a tool for just connecting, whether it's connecting on that social side or whether it's connecting on that professional side, and definitely as a tool of marketing?
You want to go, Aswan?
Can I go first?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Can I go first?
It's yours, madam.
It is yours.
Because you're looking at, so I kind of gave you some insights into, I'm back in the day. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I want to hear that too. I think everybody needs to hear this too, because here you are right now. So.
Okay, I'm back in the day and proud of it. But when when I got here and I said, okay, let me get my real estate license, because remember what I said, you don't have to spend $1 million, get a house and so on and so forth. So, but my friends out west said, oh, Karen, go with Keller, because that way you're gonna learn all the North Carolina nuances, real estate, but you got to be local. And I said, okay. So I go with Keller for a year, and I'm like, And so long story, an informal mentor told me about EXP. That's my brokerage. But my company my firm is Montalban Triad Properties, my last name. Well, I get to EXP, cloud-based brokerage, a pioneer, okay? And they are a internet-based company. I mean, I was like, I didn't even have a business Facebook. And there was one young brother I spoke with, and he was like, Miss Karen, you need to get somebody get you from 0 to 100. You know what I mean? I didn't have anything. I had Instagram, and my ladies, my children, they were like, okay, Mom, just Google it and stuff. I learned myself. And I'd already heard about this Clubhouse, but I wanted to get first because of the fact that it is an answer to your question, Mark. And it's done me well. I mean, I'm still ramping up, and I got my Facebook and my Instagram and the LinkedIn. And I believe that it allows me to cast the net wider. But I'm careful about it, okay? Because I do see some things, and I've seen some things that people put out there on social media, and I'm like, well, really now? But you're a realtor, or a broker. Why do I need to see a yellow bikini? I don't know. But I mean, you see, but you do you. You do you. You do you. And that's one thing that I have embraced as, being a, out there in the West person, because that's why many people love the West Coast because, you know, allows you to do your thing, do you, you know, and that's what I love. So many years being back there. But social media, your social media, yeah, and you know, I love it. I made many mistakes, and I've learned as well.
What about yourself, Aswan and Kat? How's that social media space been for you? Because, like I said, it can be quite interesting.
Yes.
Kat, would you like to go?
Sure. You know, I thought social media was, you know, you like stuff, you heart stuff, you pat, you know, you share it. You know, that's what I
Used to be
thought social media was. And then I went to Clubhouse, and it's probably one of the better platforms that I've been very consistent with, because you get to be in front of people that you really wouldn't get a chance to meet otherwise. It's made me a better podcaster, I believe, because when I first started, I would, you know, sit in the audience and I wouldn't come up on stage. And when I did come up on stage, my voice would actually shake when I would come up on stage. But I told myself, if I'm going to be on this app, every time I go into a room I've never been on or in before, I raise my hand and I go up on stage and say, here, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. And I go from there. It's not creepy. I'm like, oh, you know, text this to this and get this free, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm just like, hey, this is what I do. This is who I am. You know, I'm just introducing myself. But I really have gotten better with Instagram because of Clubhouse. And you will never see me on TikTok. Well, I should never say never.
Yep, that's right. I was about to say that, Kat. Never say never. Never say, listen to me. Never say never.
I have no intention
Okay.
of being on TikTok, but you never know. Because I didn't know about Instagram either, but I've learned a lot since I've been a podcaster, knowing that, you know, and I go into these rooms being very selective in the fact that I want to learn something. So I go in and I'll learn one little tidbit of information, and I always have a pad and paper so I can write it down, and then I apply it. And I'm like, oh, wow, that really does work. You know, some people might say, hey, you know, I use this, and I'll go, you know, to a certain website, and I'm like, I don't like it, but at least I looked at it. So I think that you have to make social media work for you, whatever it is
right. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
you are doing. You know, I'm in podcast rooms, but I'm also in rooms that have nothing to do with podcasting. But you never know where you're going to find veterans.
Exactly.
So I just go
Right.
in there and, you know, introduce myself and say hey and spread my sunshine, you know.
I hear you. What about yourself,
All
Aswan?
right now. Yeah, all
Well, what
right.
about yourself, Aswan? I'm interested to hear about your experience, but I do agree. You sometimes go into rooms that are not even rooms that you are necessarily interested in, but you never know where you might find interesting guests. Because I've also gone into some rooms that can be very contentious. Because I've been in a couple of those
Yes.
vaccine rooms and anti-vaccine rooms, and they can get quite contentious, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, because you have that freedom of voice ultimately, and you have these people that you know you can police to an extent. But you want that, right? The freedom of expression. You want people to be able to speak freely. So in terms of social media for me, I take it with a grain of salt. I mean, it's great, right? Like every single platform has a purpose, and it's great because it allows you almost free marketing to a degree, right? You know, you talk about back in the day, you either had to print or you do billboards or TV commercials or something, right? Where it costs a lot of money to let people know about you and your services.
That's right.
So social media can be, again, it's a gift and a curse, as is pretty much everything. It's good, but you can go down that rabbit hole and
Go
then
down that rabbit hole.
done. And then you just keep going and going down that rabbit hole. So it's very important that you are doing everything intentionally in terms of what you're doing. And you're going to make mistakes, you're going to learn, you're going to grow. But even the mistakes that you think you're making, are they really a mistake, right? Because if you're doing it and you have the reason why you're doing it, you may need to reconfigure it, right? Or switch up how you're posting or what platform you're posting on. But ultimately, like the way I use social media, like, and obviously is anyone who has a service or a product. And that's the thing you see, everybody's selling something. And I'm personally I don't really like to sell. I just, that's why I do only things that I'm passionate about, that I enjoy, because then it's not selling for me. But it's also a light into my lifestyle, or, that sort of speak. Clubhouse specifically, you do kind of get in there and all of that, and you're going through all these rooms. There's so many rooms, there's so many people to talk to. And you have to drive your business. You have to do those things for you, because again, if people don't know about you and your services, how can you help anybody? So you do have to bless you. You do have to be very careful in that too, because you have to be cognizant of the fact that you're giving a lot of yourself. You're giving a lot of your energy away to a lot of different people. And that has a impact on you.
It's
so depending on that's why you have to be really in tune with yourself and know what you need as a person. Because I know me, I'm very sensitive, and I'm always pouring into people. So I have to have my solitude where, I get to replenish myself, so I can continue to give to the capacity that I do give.
It's interesting you said that. It's interesting that all of y'all said that, because one of the things that I've been observing, and I've really been observing it in LinkedIn, ironically, is that a lot of people are, and I mentioned the vaccine and everything, but a lot of people are also using these tools as a means of almost doing like a new form of therapy, for lack of a better term. Because I'm seeing a lot of people that are having discussions around issues that they are passionate about. Like I know my friend Nancy Burroughs was actually abused as a child, and she said it's all right for me to talk about that and everything. So, but she uses her different conversations to talk about that, to get people out of that space. And I know that there's another gentleman that has got a chronic illness. He's got leukemia, so he's starting to do what Nancy calls radiating real and sharing that. So I'm seeing more and more people that are using these tools as a means to be advocates, for lack of a better word. And I was wondering if you were even seeing that, Kat, because I'm seeing more and more podcasters being advocates and using these tools, not just to tell the stories, but also to be advocates.
Well, I think you have to go where your audience is. There are a lot of veterans on LinkedIn, a lot. And I was going Facebook and Instagram and, and then I thought, wait a minute, there are a lot of people on LinkedIn. So I started just kind of, because you should always be testing, always test stuff. Tried, it doesn't work, that's okay. You're failing forward was what I like to say, and you try something else. So I found that LinkedIn works really well for me. But I do agree. It used to be just, I'm looking for a job. Does anyone know this? Now it's broadening a lot, and I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but we'll see.
Yeah. I actually wanted to, and I agree that it's definitely be interesting to see what happens in that. I actually had a question for Antoine as well, because I love talking to people about their different passions and everything. And my question for Antoine and everything is, there's been some conversations, because it actually came up in a friend of mine's show as well, about representation in acting. So are you feeling that we're doing enough representation of us as a people and also telling our stories? Because like I said, there was a time not that long ago that we saw, of course, the Wakanda Impact, and we saw Hidden Figures, and we saw stuff like that. But do you think that we're doing enough of our stories, and do you think that there's enough of us playing our stories? Because there's also been complaints about some other people of different cultures portraying us, whether we're African American or Hispanic or Native American, and that conversation has been going on for a while. So as an actor, what is your thoughts about that?
Personally, I mean, it is opening up, right? Because to a degree, there used to be big gatekeepers before. Now the gatekeepers there's not really too many gatekeepers in regard to that, because Mark, you can produce your own thing to for the culture and get it out there, right? Even if you just put it on YouTube or whatever, right? Like there's platforms, there's way to do that now. In the bigger space, it's a little different, because again, you still have the politics, right? You have the politics behind everything. So what a Netflix may decide to put money behind, it may not be your story, or they want to switch it up to make it more appealing to their fan base or whatever. So there's always that stuff is definitely still there. I don't think necessarily that an actor that's not American can, necessarily play American, right? Because many of them have shown, it's about just in general, right? If an actor is good enough, you know, we study, we practice, we rehearse, like all of that, and we have influence by friends or whatever to be able to play, you know, a British guy or whatever the case is, right? So I might want to play a British guy because I think it's interesting, and as an artist, we want to do those type of things. We want to express and create. So I don't think that's a bad thing, right? But it's more so about.
And I like that British accent.
Thank you. I need to practice it more, but it's more about really getting more storytellers to come forward and also create these stories and building these partnerships. Kind of like we've seen a lot. Tyler Perry's kind of doing that a little bit, but really getting these stories and expanding them to that degree to where they don't just seem black, right? Or just pro-black. I think that's maybe where some of the divide is, you know, when it comes to culturally stuff, if it's too black, if you will, like too pro-black, and it's not enough diversity or whatever in the black film, it may not get the attention that it should or whatever as well. So
Kat, coming back on that same topic, but more in the podcasting space, you know, there's like some ridiculous amount of podcasts in it. I've got like probably about 8 or 9 of them with the shows that I'm doing, as well as the ones that I'm producing. It might be as many as 10 to 15 now that I'm thinking about it. But that being said, even that is a drop in the ocean of those that are out there. Do you sometimes worry? Because I know I worry about it. 2 things. Do you ever worry about getting lost in this sea of tons of podcasts? And also, one of my frustrations is that, talking about the old days, in radio and television, there was the Arbitron rating, there was the Nielsen ratings. And unless you're a Joe Roca, and I know there are a couple of podcasting metrics, but they're not as well known or as detailed oriented in my mind as, say, the Nielsen's and the Arbitron was. Because you could be at a local radio station and you would know what your Arbitron rating was. And definitely you know that if you are a major player like a Joe Rogan, but you don't know that if you're, say, in Charlotte or Durham or some of these places that we're at and everything. So we're kind of guessing as to what our audience is. Of course, we're talking like, I know I've gone down and here in Durham, I know that I must be doing something right, because friends will be like, I saw you on Instagram yesterday. And I'm like, okay, well, somebody's watching. Didn't know that they were watching, because there's no monetization. I mean, or there is some monetization, but there's no tool of knowing the numbers and all of that. So I'm going like, oh, okay, well, somebody's watching, and I'm glad that you told me that you're watching. Otherwise, I'd have no clue. But I'm just wondering your thoughts about that, because that is my frustration, is that I wish somebody would come along and invent the Arbitron or the Nielsen's of podcasting that could actually help us know what's going on in our 3 million or however many podcasts there are.
Well, when I started my podcast journey, I actually took a course, because I like to have a system. I'm a systems girl. I like to know how to do things and where they fit in. And he actually said, look, he goes, as long as your bar is angling up, okay? So if you're kind of doing this, but as long as you're not dipping down. Okay, so if you look at your ratings and you had one uploading of your podcast, that's a win.
Yep.
And if you're that concerned about it, then maybe you shouldn't be podcasting. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't really look at that when I wanted to podcast. I knew that I was going to bring my own special sauce. And, you know, every podcaster brings what they have to the table. And, you know, somebody likes my special sauce because they're listening. And, but I think that you have to realize that, you know, what is it you bring to the table? Whether you're an actor, a realtor, a radio show host, what do you bring to the table that makes people listen to what you have to say? Is it your voice? Is it your laugh? I have a very obnoxious laugh, but you know, it's mine and I own it, you know, but what do you bring to the table that's different? Because those are the people those are your people. Those are the ones that tune in to hear you. Your subject matter, sure. Your guests, yeah, maybe, but they're tuning in to hear you also. So I didn't go into it. You know, if I had looked at those statistics, I might not have started a podcast, to be honest with you. But at that point, I just didn't care. I didn't care. I'm going to do it. I don't care how, but I just said I'm going to do it, and I did.
No, I agree with you. And actually, I've got a friend of mine who does a very niche-oriented podcast, and sometimes we have interesting conversations about what he's doing because he's actually doing a podcast, or it's actually a live stream / podcast that is him talking about funk music from his car. That's why it's called Funk from the Front Seat, and that is
Really?
every Saturday. So he's
I
literally,
love
and
that.
we actually did something that you will get a kick out of, Kat, because we weren't sure we were going to pull it off. But usually he's at a secret location and it's parked, so the car is parked, and we may see him drive off at the end of the discussion. And he's actually got some ties to the funk industry, so he's had some of the true funk legends. He hasn't had George Clinton, but he's had like Bootsy Collins' wife and a couple of others that have been on the show.
Bootsy
He definitely had
Collins,
some
are you
true
serious?
contacts and everything. But what he did this week is he was actually going to a funk ball. So he actually drove up. So I had to engineer from here, the same computer that I'm using right now, as he was driving. And fortunately, it didn't really have, and I think the event was in Maryland, so it didn't really kind of break up because I think he joined in Petersburg, and it didn't break up to the end of the show. So I might have to do some editing at some point. But the whole show, for the most part, was about an hour drive. That was the only glitch was at the end. So I actually was glad that the glitch happened at the end and not at the beginning. But you know, one of the things you've got to have, and I know you are aware of this, Kat, is you got to have a backup plan. So we actually had some stuff lined up in case something had gone
Yes,
wrong.
you do.
Because he was like, we even knew what the episode was that we were going to pull up. Because it's like, if it doesn't work, we're going to go to plan B.
Plan
So we
B,
had a plan
and
B.
sometimes even a plan C.
And sometimes
Just
even
in
plan C. You got to have those as well. And by the way, I actually love your laughter. I think that you and Jimmy should have a laughing contest because I actually think that Jimmy has an amazing laugh as well. So I'm waiting for you and Jimmy to have this laugh contest. Maybe that could be a contest on Clubhouse. It could
I
be
know,
a
right?
laugh
Jimmy's
contest
going to be on my podcast, so I'm super excited about that.
That should be great. That should be a great discussion. I can't wait to see how that turns out because both of y'all have high energy and all of that. So it ought to be an amazing one. I was going to bring up, and hopefully he'll come up, and I forgot where Mr. Phillip is, but I'm going to see if Phillip can pop up as well. Are you there? Yeah, that's Phillip. I was going to bring up, and hopefully he'll come up, and I forgot where Mr. Phillip is, but I'm going to see if Phillip can pop up as well. Are you there? Well, he's listening in to the show. That's kind of cute.
Are you talking
I'll
about
have to tell
Philip
him to
Singer?
turn it off after we do that. I think I'll have to tell him because he was listening at the same time.
I
Hey, that's always great things. So that happens.
I wanted to know how he was doing that. How was
Yeah.
he doing
Boy,
that?
that
So I was trying to figure out how you do that.
Talent.
Hey, it was a new talent, a whole new talent. Karen, as you've been in this new space and everything, and I mentioned to you earlier, but is there something about Winston-Salem and that triad area that you are big fans of? You told me what you liked about North Carolina, but what appealing to you about the triad area? And is there any possibility that you want to do some business in Charlotte, where apparently Kat is at? So maybe Kat can help you get plugged in Charlotte area.
Real estate is local. I mean, I'm licensed for the entire state of North Carolina, and as a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna get my California license back because I spent such a long time, my California real estate license, because I spent such a long time out there, and I actually just recently made a referral. But I like the triad area. Answer to your question, I like the triad, the Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point triad. It's because Charlotte's it's great. It's a whole different market. But I like the ruralness of the area, and because I think the folks from the north and out there in the west, and I'm speaking for myself, I wanted to slow down. And Greensboro, Winston-Salem, this area, it provides that. I mean, I can almost feel that when I go to Charlotte, I take it up a peg or two.
You have your niche because it speaks to you.
Yeah.
See, and that's what makes her successful, and what will make her successful is that, you can cast the net and be broad, which it is, but at the same time, she's focusing on a certain style because it was something that she wanted for herself personally.
It's what I wanted to do. Yeah.
So she can resonate with those people who want the same feeling.
Exactly, Aswan. That's exactly it.
No, that makes a lot of sense. But you know, Aswan, you're actually in an area that is, of course, known for the filmmaking because that's what LA is known for and everything. But you are actually also having some roots in some areas that are growing. I wish I could say North Carolina was one of them. We used to be until we got in the way with like film credits and other things, and we had still certain governors and everything that kind of like squashed our industry to some degree. And I really
sooner or later, they all kind of they go through that battle. All those states, whatever, even California for a while, films weren't even being made in California because of that same thing. You know, everybody's trying to get over to a degree or try to, you know, at least spend less money as possible to do everything right. But yeah. I'm sorry. What was the question?
No, I was using, but there are two other states. I mean, you were in Miami, and I know that I used to go every year to the American Black Film Festival because I do know that Miami had a little bit of a rich history, and of course, Georgia does as well. So I was wondering, had you ever thought about making that move over? Because I know that a good friend of mine, Ronnie Warner, is one of the producers, along with Mackay Pfeiffer, of This Christmas, and he's been in LA probably 2 decades now, because he moved here after he had run and managed a comedy club. But he is now thinking, because his parents, well, actually one of the parents, I think one passed, is, you know, moving back because the folks are getting older. So he's in his late 50s, early 60s. So he's actually thinking about coming back this way, but he wants to bring the film industry back this way as well. So maybe he can do that battle that we're talking about with those tax credits and everything. But I just wonder, as one that is based in the Los Angeles West Coast area, which is kind of the epicenter along with New York, go to New York, because apparently the New York Broadway area has reopened and everything. But that have you thought about moving toward the East Coast, or are you content with out in the West? Or are you going to do like Karen did and make that transition across the country?
Well, personally, my mom lives in North Carolina. I'm in the process of getting her situated with some other stuff, like a house out there, trying to buy her house out there and things like that. I know, Karen. We'll talk. I'm working with somebody, but we'll talk. And I'm also in LA because I love it, right? I like being able to, you know, I love the openness of it. You get city life, but you also kind of get some country. You can drive out 2.5 hours and get a totally different feel. Personally, I don't live in the LA area, even though I'm super close, 30 minutes out, but I like to kind of be out the way as well. But because I'm doing many different things, like the liquor industry is making me, you know, be pretty much everywhere, because, you know, we're in 16 states, right? So, and we have partnerships with NFL and NBA teams. So, you know, we have to do marketing and do all of those things. So it carries me in different states. So in terms of my acting, I can literally be anywhere. LA for now is the home base. But I definitely want to tie into, you know, the Atlanta market and things like that as well. And to speak on what you were saying, even with that, it's really about some people saying, hey, I know that I'm not getting this tax incentive to create the films here, but this is where I want to create the film. And it really will come down to that in order for people to, you know, for the industry to make more of a mark in North Carolina, if you will, as well. Because when I first got into it, I was thinking about North Carolina, and I was like, oh, this is not the market for acting. So
what about Oakland, Aswan? There's a lot of things going on in Oakland.
That's true. But you also have, like, I think it depends. So you have to go what speaks to you. You ever go to a city or state or a country and you were just ill, or it just didn't feel right, right? Like some places speak to you.
Yeah.
So it's not just so it's not just your career field, but it's also the energy of it. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Some people love New York because everybody's on top of each other, so you get that hustle and bustle. You know, you get the movement. And they'll come to LA and they'll be like, oh man, nobody's doing anything. Well, they are, but it's almost moving in silence because you don't see the movement.
Well, Aswan, the problem is with LA, and I've alluded to it earlier in this show. I've definitely alluded to it in other shows as well. I am a mass transit person, so y'all have a horrible mass transit system. That's probably why I will never move out there and everything. Because
absolutely terrible.
Yes, there's no mass transit. And even Kat shaking her head because she's like, I did the military thing. There was no mass transit there. And I know that that's where Karen moved from. So there's a very bad.
Well, you know, there was mass transit in the Bay Area, you know, BART.
Yeah, up that way. Up that way.
Yeah, up that way. BART.
Down south, yeah, the southern
yeah, but
part
where
of California.
you are, you know, where you are down in LA is that
Nah,
you
it's
gotta
terrible.
have your car.
It's shit so. Yeah, I mean, but I love to drive and I love to ride my bike. So for me, I don't necessarily need the public transportation
Right.
or anything like that. It is great to have it, but you know, again, you just maneuver because every city has their own thing that they're dealing with in general. So you take the pros and cons and ultimately be where what suits you the most.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
you got to do that and everything. I agree with you. By the way, Brian Shulman, who's a good friend of mine and a LinkedIn influencer, so he was saying that he was enjoying our conversation. So that's
Thanks,
why we're
Brian.
looking good on the conversation.
Looking
And like
good
I said, he does a couple of shows. He's actually got a company called
okay.
Voice Your Vibe, and he does a show on Wednesday. Well, it used to be Wednesday afternoon right before me, but because one of the partners is in Los Angeles and is a school teacher, they pushed it back. So it'll actually be this evening, I believe, at around 9 o'clock. I think like 9 until 11, and then he does his shout out Saturdays. And there's all kinds of little cool interactive things he does, like ask people their favorite cereals, their favorite cartoons, and yes, he will make you dance. And he also has a lip sync contest that I have participated in. And by the way, Brian, we won. Team Tark won. Just letting them know and everything. So just a running joke and everything we have as to whether Team Nancy won, which is his team with Nancy and Brian, or Team Tark, which is one of his other partners, Tim and myself. So Brian, I know you're still listening. Team Tark won. So just letting you know. And I'm sure he's going to respond back. He was also getting on my case. He was also getting on my case and everything. You know, things were saying, ha ha ha, and you're so cute. So, you knew what was going on. I had to let folks know who won, even on my own show and everything of that nature. So, he said tonight we're going to have another battle. So y'all can all watch. Apparently it's going to be week 27 tonight, Team Tark against Team Bancy. So apparently we're going to have another battle this evening and everything. So, and he said, yes, so don't worry about sleep. Just tell yourself you don't have to sleep. And I don't think entrepreneurs, that actually brings up a good point. Do entrepreneurs sleep? Because whenever I'm on Clubhouse, I'm sitting there going like, I'm up, it's 3 a.m. and I'm still up and I'm still listening to these Clubhouse conversations. I'm still listening to various other things. I mentioned one of the founders of one of the more social rooms, Lori Bellotti, who does that Sex in the City space. And I've been up at like 1 or 2, gone into the entrepreneur room, seen her room. Then I might take a brief nap. And then I've seen that she's in a COVID room at like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going like, I do not think that entrepreneurs, podcasters, or any of us that are in this creative space really believe in the concept of sleep. So I would like to hear your thoughts, Kat. So do we believe in sleep?
I'm usually in there 9, 10 o'clock, but I'm up at like 5 and 6. And you know, as a result of the old penny, you know, I'm up, I'm working out, I'm walking, getting my mind right. So, you know, it's the best time to do this in the morning. And then I get on with my day. So I can't stay up all night. I'm not one of those entrepreneurs. I can't.
Well, rest yourself, Kat. Can you stay up all night? And I'm sure I know I've seen Aswan in it at early hours and everything. So definitely. What about yourself, Kat? Can you?
Already Aswan.
I never could. Even when I was younger, I could never stay up. Like around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, my body's like, "Excuse me, aren't we supposed to be sleeping?"
Yeah.
You know, if I stay up too late, I do not play well with others. Okay.
Right.
So
right.
So I tell, you know, because, you know, I work out, I have clients like at 6 a.m. So I have to be nice to my body. You know, I'm not 25 anymore, even 35 or 45, but we won't talk about that. But anyway.
Well, you know, first of all, I want to hear about Aswan and everything. But first off, that was the first thing. That was the first thing that Jimmy told me about you, because she was like, you got to have this woman on as your guest. And you're not going to believe that she's actually in your similar age range, because I am in my late 50s about to hit that 6 number. And I was going like, no, she looks like she's 30s or 40s. So you were doing well with the whole exercise and everything.
Thank
so you were doing
good,
quite well with that.
First off, I do want to interject and say, you all look amazing, first and foremost. So I'm the second.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Forget about an age. I would never even guess that y'all are whatever your ages are, because one, it doesn't matter. Two, you look great.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that and
Yeah. Well,
everything.
one of the things I want to say is that, it's been a downer, about this whole pandemic thing, but it's had the silver lining, because when it came about, it was like, wow. But then I just like, you know what? I'm going to change some things here. Okay. I'm going to change the way I'm eating. I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to work out. I'm going to walk. And I mean, and you know what they say about that, when you start taking care of your body and taking care of it takes you taking care of your mind, and then all the other stuff just comes into play. You're professional, you're an entrepreneur, or if you're gonna you do the 9 to 5, it all comes together, because you getting everything in unison, the mind and the body, and then
Just like a machine.
all the offshoots.
And that's what I'm going to ask both Kat and Aswan, and you actually referenced it as well, Karen, and everything. But I'm not going to lie. I actually do need to do better with the walking and the exercise. I need to do better with the diet, because this is the pandemic era, and me and DoorDash and Grubhub have become a little bit too much friends and everything along those lines. So I'm going to admit these things and everything. So I do need to get more into the walking. I did tell folks early when Karen first came on that I did go to work and I did do a little bit of walking, and I tried to go eat someplace a little bit more healthier than, say, greasy food. So at least Subway was a attempt at an upgrade.
Mark, I must say in North Carolina, it's a little tough.
Yeah.
It's a little hard. It's a little hard here.
It can be, yeah. You have the distance.
Yeah,
and those things.
It was just ingrained in me when I was out west for all those years, because they're just Aswan, it's just real healthy.
There's more healthy options for one.
Yeah,
It's
More
definitely
healthy
more
options.
healthy. Yeah, it's healthier options.
Yeah, options.
So I'm gonna try to see if we can get Philip to not give us interference this time. But while I'm doing that, could Aswan and Kat, could you talk about the importance of exercise? Because I do know that even in this pandemic, some of us, myself included, have not been doing all that great. And by the way, Brian was inviting all of y'all to come on the show, which if you look on LinkedIn and look up Ryan Shulman, it is at 9 p.m. our time, so 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're up at that hour, just pop in, and he will probably talk all kinds of junk to you and say that he will probably talk y'all into a lip sync as well. I know Brian; he's always trying to recruit people. Don't fall for the okie doke. Just listen to the show and tell your favorite cereals and some of the other things that are going on. But definitely, could you talk about the importance of exercise in your lives? And I guess I'll start ladies first. So, Kat.
Sure. Like I said, I've been in the fitness industry for 37 years, and I think it came from my dad, because while he was in the military, he used to take me to the gym, and I would watch him play basketball. And so I became an athlete. And then I realized, that I just really, after school, everyone's an athlete in school, and then you get out of school, but you eat like an athlete, but you're not exactly doing the workouts of an athlete.
Right.
And I realized at a very young age that, being fit had a lot of pluses. And so I got into the fitness field because I needed a job. I needed a part-time job, and it was an hour here, hour there. But, exercise is good for, if you move your body, it fuels your mind.
Exactly.
And when you feel your mind and you're able to do what you need to do to get done, and then you're able to sleep. So if you can't sleep, you're not eating, you're not exercising, and then you sit there and you say, I don't, I couldn't do anything today. My brain wouldn't work. You're drinking all the coffee. I know some people who've never drank a drop of water in their life.
I know. And that's amazing, isn't it, Kat?
Yes.
How do you not drink water?
And if you're not hydrated, there's just a lot of things wrong with that. So, I tell people, when they say, well, where do I start? And most people want to start with everything. Oh, I want to start to exercise. I want to eat right. I want to do this and I want to do that. And I'll say, start with one thing and do it for 15 minutes. So if it's walking, walk for 15 minutes. And then start to add on to it. And then when you're used to that, when I say used to that, I mean, you don't even have to know what time it is. You're like, 4 o'clock, got to go walk. They don't care what you're doing. Like, hey, got to get off the phone, because it's my walk time. Then you start to, add in, I want to start to eat healthy. Start with one thing at a time. If you're not eating vegetables, start to eat one vegetable. Keep it as simple as possible, because that's where the longevity comes through. Is all of those things that I did in my 20s and 30s are now paying off right now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, Aswan, I'd love to hear your thoughts about exercise, but I also wanted to bring in Philip, who I think goes by the name of Metaphysical and all of that. And definitely, I know that his people have been trying to get him in and everything. So I'm glad that he popped off again. So hopefully he'll pop back on. So while we're waiting for him and everything, then hopefully he'll pop back on, because I know he's been trying to get on and off, but I'll just have to talk to his publicist, because publicists are great people, but they were sending me emails and all of that, and we were trying to make it happen. And we still got a few minutes, but talk a little bit about the importance of exercise to you as well.
Well, for me, it's a lifestyle. I've been working out since as long as I can remember, actually, but and then I end up being a personal trainer as well. So for me, it's a couple of different things, right? Because your overall health is super important. And I also I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was in the Marine Corps back in 2004. So, which I don't even understand, because I was healthy eating and all of that even then, right? But again, we don't know why certain things happen. And it's really, really important because, one, being into fitness, it does a couple of different things. Because if you're lifting weights, which I think everybody should, and doing those things, you're pushing yourself.
Right.
And that pushing could also translate into your personal life outside of the gym in terms of everything you're doing. Because if you force yourself and push yourself past, you're fatigued, right? Our body is saying, oh, no, stop. And mentally, if you say, no, I know I can get up one more, oftentimes you can shock yourself like, oh, I didn't know I had that in you, which we need that person that either work out with or a trainer that normally gives us that. And we're like, what? So if you take that same concept into what your day-to-day life is, when you want to give up on something, you say, wait, I can do one more. Just do one more. And then you push yourself to do one more again. Now you're up to two more past what you already did. And now you're really growing. Right. So that just transitioned into your life, because, again, the piggyback what Kat said, once you start doing better in terms of your body, treating your body well, and you're doing these things and you want to get the results. So naturally, you're going to start implementing and changing your diet a little bit to be a little healthier and cleaner. And even if you're like, here's the thing, we put this pressure on ourselves to be 100% or whatever, right? You don't have to be. If you can tip the scale to be on the healthier side in general, your whole quality of life just also just is brightened a lot more. If I didn't work out, I'm telling you now, like my ulcerative colitis would do me over like, a lot of other people who kind of suffer from it. Luckily enough, I've been able to maintain it. And now I do a lot of, advocating for other people who have ulcerative colitis to show them, hey, you can still do different things. And personally, I'm an active person. Mm-hmm. So I don't want my quality of life to change. So I have to do certain things to maintain where I'm at and get better. Which is why I kind of take a holistic approach to my life a little bit. And it's not 100% holistic, right? But the scale is at 80 to 90. And I think it's just, you're just putting yourself in a better position. And to answer the other question, I average like 5 hours of sleep. So
wow,
that's just me, 5 to 6 when I was in the military, before the military. So you also just need to know your body when it comes to sleeping and all of that stuff. But entrepreneurship, for everybody who's thinking about going into that, it's a 24/7 in general, but you do get to create your schedule. But if you're a hard worker and you're busting your butt for other people, just apply that same thing and know that you're going to have to do that plus 10.
I agree with you. And I also know people that have had those chronic diseases. Dean, who I've referenced a couple of times, is my audio podcaster that I work with, has got Crohn's. So he's been dealing with Crohn's pretty much all his life. And that's another one of those kind of ailments that is always chronic and always having to face and everything along those lines. I think that Philip is back, so we're going to see if Philip can hear us and if he's got any thoughts about what's going on and about the whole thoughts, because I know that he's been spending some time in this area as well, or at least the area of Los Angeles, which is actually the home area for my good buddy Aswan. But Philip has definitely been involved in a number of things. So Philip, you want to share a little bit about your narrative and your story as well? Philip, you're on mute.
Unmute, yeah.
So there
Yep, there you were there. We just heard you. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah, hey everybody. First of all, I want to give a little apology for me being on this whole road here. My phone battery was low and I took a bus that didn't crazy, but thank you for letting me even get on the show. Yeah, I was hearing what the other person was saying, but I'm gonna go about you and your body, and we got to treat it. I mean, we are treated as one. This thing we got called life. I mean, your thought, your word, and your actions, let those be the same, and your body and your mind, and we got it. I mean, what you are, what you eat, is a legitimate statement. You got to take care of yourself, and it's gonna last long. I'm out here in Los Angeles, and I've already been on Skid Row, on 6th and San Pedro, and it's just legitimate. You know, that statement called laziness kills. You see that when you see people laying on their backs on San Pedro or 6th Street, and they've been doing that, and you know, and they're not getting up and making an effort for themselves. I mean, that's only tragic. That's only gonna take you down. So I'm a person that has to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing in these days, because this too shall end. You and I, we don't know how soon our time on this earth will be over. That's why every day we got to give it up, make it precious. Every day we got to treat it like it's the last one. I mean, it's God is part of me, because there's some people out there that don't even believe in a God, but God is good. I mean, God is it's a meditation to have prayer. In fact, for me, if it wasn't for prayer, I don't know how I would have made it in some of the roughest times that I went through, being homeless out in the streets. I mean, it's scary, but with God, you're never alone. You know, you will always have someone to just rely on. So I'm a person out here in Los Angeles just making it through. I'm blessed to have the moment. Got some music, so I'm trying to hold.
Just really quickly, if you could share a little bit more of your story, because I know we've got Kat on this show, and I know you enlisted in the National Guard, and you had also spent some time doing the race ride there in the '90s. So you definitely went through some hard times. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your personal story.
That was a crazy time. I mean, I was in junior city college, being in the National Guard in the Central Valley of California, a town called Greeley, California. And all of a sudden I got the phone call that my unit was activated for an incident happening with the Rodney King trial. And we realized that a riot had occurred in Los Angeles, you know, and that was back in '93. I'm born in 71, 81. I was probably like 21 years old at the time. So that was scary for me. I'm a soldier at the time in an infantry unit where I didn't carry an M16. I carried an M203. That's a grenade launcher, you know. So I'm going with my unit to Los Angeles, and we're seeing the scenes. And you know, you see Los Angeles in flames. That's pretty scary, you know. And for a younger man like me with an M203, waiting for my commander's instructions, that to me was just. That was personal, you know. I just seen it like, damn, this is, and to me, I thought Los Angeles was gonna fully get inflamed. I thought the flames would get larger and larger, but the riot only lasted a week. My unit stayed out there for 2 weeks for maintaining public security. But just to see an incident like that over decisions, that right there is a situation that we as humans on this globe need to recognize. I mean, decision making can make or break your life. there are times when the wrong decision is made, and a whole
Not only that,
war
but
is
yeah,
brought
not only
upon
that,
us.
but you have also been involved in like some car accidents during that time, and like Aswan, you had suffered from some ailments as well. I know you were diagnosed with epilepsy and things along that line. So if you could talk a little bit about your health struggles as well, I'm sure we would love to hear that part of the story as well.
Hey, Mark, I'm getting so
Um,
much,
Yeah,
I'm,
Mark, you
like
got some
backwards.
reverb.
I can't hear you.
what, what do you want me to do to the mic? Is that better?
I can
No,
hear.
no,
No,
it's not you.
Mark.
It's Mark.
Whatever you want me to do, let me know. Not in that sense, but I'm saying in regards to this interview.
Yeah, I think it's coming through your
Okay, there
roadcaster
you
and
go. Now
everything.
I can
So
hear you, Mark.
I just think that keep the question short. So I'll keep them short and everything. Actually, I have an idea.
And see, it's back though.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Can I keep talking from here?
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
Mic check. Mic check.
I can hear you.
Okay, but yeah, the riots that happened after the riots. I came to Los Angeles in '93, ready to do my music here, and a year later, I got in a car accident. I was in a coma for about a month. I had to relearn how to walk and talk. I got back on my feet, and heading out the hospital, the doctor said, "You're going to have future repercussions from that major head incident, that major head trauma you went through." And in '94, I was like, huh? What do they mean? And got back on my feet, went back into life. And then in 2006, I was working security and fell on my face and woke up with the doctors telling me that I have epilepsy and I'll have to take medicine. And telling me I had epilepsy, I was stubborn and didn't believe in Western medicine. The Rodney King trial really did something to me. But I refused to take medicine and kept having seizures after seizures. I probably fell on my face over a dozen times. I've had stitches in my face, probably up to about a dozen times. But after I broke my jaw twice, that's when I started taking medicine religiously. I'm taking the medicine now, and I've not had a seizure ever since then. That is good.
Philip,
you hear
tell us
that?
a little bit.
Tell us
Yes.
a little bit. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your
Your
poetry.
Your poetry.
Shoot. I've learned to respect God. That's the main thing. Ever since I was a kid, at first I just listened to music and try to write a song or write poetry similar to what they were doing in the song. Conscious music. I'm born in the '70s, so I still believe that humans can be one. Imagine that, huh? I still believe that we can all still be one, but we already recognize the mighty 1% that's stopping the one from happening. We already know that we're keeping money as a denominator, separating human beings on this planet Earth. So my music is pretty much about God against the devil and human beings being one on this planet Earth. The majority of it is. And marijuana.
Yeah, that's beautiful,
Let's
man.
be honest, though.
I think that's great, actually. I used to do poetry back in the day, and I used to sing and an artist. So I would love to talk to you and connect with you, Philip.
It's multimedia now. Billion dollar industry. A song I make can go to film. That film be inspired to make a book. It's bending left and right. Multimedia. It's a good thing to do anything nowadays. Inspiration from a book could be made into a movie. A song is written that can be inspired. I'm just saying, we're at a really good time in multimedia, folks.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Respects to what you guys are doing out here. Pure respects.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And like I said, I knew he was
Yeah,
on the
no
bus.
doubt
So
about
hopefully,
that. And like I said, I knew he was
but
on the bus. So,
one of the things I was going to ask is
one of the
metaphysical
things I was
and
going to ask
what's
is
your thoughts on the
metaphysical and
social media?
what's
So
your
that's
thoughts
something we
on
were talking about before you
social
came on.
media? So that's something we were talking about before you came on.
I apologize. Can you repeat that?
I was asking your thoughts
I
on
was
social
asking your
media
thoughts
and how
on
that social
social
media
media,
is
how that
important to your
social
career
media
and everything.
is important to your career and everything.
You know, it's very important, but personally, I just don't have the right conjunctions to lure a larger demographic to my websites. All I can do is take the underground road and push my website out via Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, emailing out new songs to friends. You know, I wish I had a larger means or a way of luring in a crowd, but you know, if during this COVID, when we can, we're gonna get personal or chances, excuse me, to get on stage again. You know that's another way, but keep in mind we have COVID, so a lot of people aren't really trusting gathering right now at this time, and COVID's gonna be with us here for years to come. So all I can do right now in this phase is pretty much just the underground road, just submitting to Facebook, Instagrams, and any other means. They got certain sites out there that will play your music overseas. In actuality, I've got more people overseas liking my sound than I do here in America, which I'm finding like a little tempting in a ways. The United Kingdom has thousands of people that know me compared to America with just a few hundred or so. So,
Which
in
isn't a
regarding
bad
getting
thing.
my music out there, say it again, sir.
I said, which isn't necessarily a bad
I
thing.
said,
You
which
think about
isn't
pop
necessarily
stars,
a bad
a
thing.
lot
Think
of
about
them get the
pop stars.
international
A lot
love
of them
and
get the
everything first.
international love and everything first.
Jimi Hendrix went overseas before America recognized him. You know, and I always do consider myself a hip hop like Jimi Hendrix. So, hey, I'm just saying, you know, that God is good. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
good time.
saying?
You're writing
I'm
things
being
down. And,
serious too.
one of the things I was going to ask you is, how did you come up with the name that you go by and everything?
You know, I've been doing hip hop ever since like the early '80s, like back when I was in eighth grade in 1985. After I was after I couldn't break dance as well as the other break dancers, when they took my name, I came up with the rap name called Max Knight. And that didn't last too long. And pretty soon I came up with Phil Fresh or Philly Fresh. And I got lucky in high school. I put a song out there that got on the radio station in the Central Valley, the B95, called Back in Time. But as the years went by, I just tried to see something deeper than Phil Fresh. And my name is Phil, and Metaphysical kind of had my name in it, seeing there was a PHY and my name is Phil. So I just went with Metaphysical, and it tended to an abstract or just a basically a different way of seeing life, and a more profound view. And I'm trying to be as God fearing as possible. That alone is challenging. When it's said to may your thought, word, and actions be the same, that's challenging. Um, I'm just saying that alone, and being a name called Metaphysical, I, I'm going with it. So I've been Metaphysical ever since about the early 2000, late late 1900s. Listen to me, since late 1993s or something like that.
And how important has
Oh
it
my
been for you to
God.
have that connection with the publicist? Because I know that Eris has definitely been part of your team. So how important has it been to have that publicist and to have that whole public relations team?
I don't follow you. Are you saying in regard to me having my own publishing or?
your own publicist? Because I know that Eris is the one that told me about you and everything. So your own publicist and getting that word out through UBO magazine.
Oh, this is new to me. I'm looking forward to us having this relationship. I'm looking forward to something evolving from this relationship. You know, right now she's giving me this opportunity to be on your show like this. This is great. And I'm sure there's some other things ahead that will be coming my way. So this is new to me and I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Shoot, God is good.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you being on. So definitely gonna we have to take care of wind down. So I just wanted to have you at least have a chance to share a little bit of your story and everything. So I'm gonna one of the things I do with all my guests, so I'm gonna start with you, but I'm gonna work my way around is definitely give people a chance to share their positivity and their words of encouragement.
Cheers, man. That's and you know, looking on this planet Earth, that's what we need, man. That's if you look at it, communication is what's needed on this planet Earth. Communication and the truth. If we put those factors at play, you got people that are homeless. I mean, we can give the homeless an opportunity to give them a chance to pick them up, to give themselves the opportunity to pick them up, to pick themselves up off their butt. I mean, we like me and my roommate here was already talking about that. You got some people out there that are homeless and they're keeping themselves in that position. And basically, they're not doing anything for themselves to get themselves out that position. They're being basic lazy little butts doing nothing but drugs or doing nothing but another factor that's keeping them at that play. But if you've got the truth out there, man, if you got communication, you see most of those people that are homeless have a mental health issue or a medical issue. I'm just saying, man, we need the truth, man. We need information on this planet Earth. I mean, we're sadly to say this out loud, but we're all one species. My bad for knowing mighty 1% doesn't want this to happen. Unity, but it can. I'm sorry that I'm born from the 70s and believe that hippie stuff, man. You guys pardon me.
No, you're talking.
I feel like I'm a modern day hippie. Don't
I feel like I'm a modern day hippie.
Then you two can know it. Neil, I call it Neil hippie like.
No doubt about it. Just really quickly before I back you up and everything, Metaphysical. How can folks find you in the space of social media? So what platforms can they look for you in social media?
Thank you, man. They can Google Meta P7, simple METAP, numerical symbol 7. Meta P7 will give up all my websites. There's a whole list of them. They can go to YouTube and just type Philip Singer space AKA space Metaphysical. If they type Philip Singer AKA Metaphysical, I've got some music videos out there that you can check out.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and everything. We're going to bring the conversation around everything down, and hopefully we'll bring you back on when you're more situated at a more stable location. But I did want folks to at least get a little taste of what you're all about and everything. But I'll be reaching out to Eris and we'll try to get you back on in the near future.
What you're about and everything, but I'll be reaching out to Eric and we'll try to get you back on in the near future.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for this chance to just speak out loud like that, man. I really appreciate it. All you other people out there that are speaking too,
by the way,
stay strong and healthy and keep on doing what you're doing.
It's your
people look
birthday as well.
By the way, I also know we got a shout out to your birthday as well.
No, I heard that, but I'm one of those April 1st sort of characters. I was born April 1st, 1971, so I'm a fool's baby.
Cool. Good. Like I said, I was seeing some of the emails. I was wondering what's going on there, but definitely we'll try to reach out and hopefully we'll get you back on in the near future.
Yeah, but definitely we'll try to reach out and hopefully we'll get you back on in the near future.
Cheers, man. Cheers.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yes, we're going to make it work one way or the other because that's what podcasters, live streamers do. Isn't that what we do, Kat? We make it work one
Think
way
on your
or the
feet.
other.
You got to think on your feet.
Work your way through it.
That's right. You work your
And
way
we're
through it
back.
one way or the other.
And we're back.
And I
Yeah.
can
Solution,
hear,
baby.
and I can
Solution
hear
focus.
you better now. I can hear
Yeah.
you better,
Yeah,
Marco.
it was
So
a
much
reverb of
interference.
yeah. It was
I think
just
of the
I think the
reverb
service
and-
where he was at.
Yeah,
It happens.
the service, and it also sounded like he was on the bus. But like I said, I know in talking to his publicist, I at least wanted him to at least be able to tell part of the story. So I think folks got at least part of the story, and that's was the important part. And like I said, I'll try to get him at a more established location when he can actually be sitting down like all of us have been and be able to share more of that story. But at least they got a teaser.
Right.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
and I know that you sometimes have to pivot. That's actually been the key word I think during this whole pandemic, because everybody talks about that pivot of one form or another. So, what's the quickest pivot that you've had to do, Kat, whether it was in podcasting or in business, or that you've heard about? Because I know pivot has been one of my favorite words these days, because everybody is talking about pivoting this way or that way. You know, I got a couple of buddies that were driving DoorDash and Grubhub. That's probably why I know the Grubhub all too well and everything. Just like I had friends that were doing Uber and things along those lines. So definitely, what are some of the ways that you have personally pivoted, or did you even seen your husband pivot, or the family in general?
I think we're always doing some kind of pivoting on a daily basis. You know, if it's, if I have a client that shows up because they weren't supposed to be there that day, or, I have clients cancel, I've become very flexible. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be flexible, because if you're rigid, you're not going to make it. As a veteran, we pivot all the time. You live in one spot for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, and you're moving to a completely different spot for 2 or 3 years, and then you move every time. Even now, as long as I've been out, if I've been to someplace for too long, I'm like, okay, where are we going next? I still feel that. And even when we moved from, and I was going to tell Karen this, my husband's from Massachusetts, Karen.
Oh, okay.
And when we were moving to Charlotte, and he had gotten the interview, and they said, hey, can you be here by November? It was October 15th at that point. And he said, we can't do that. I go, we're military, we can do this. And he left and came to Charlotte, and I got everything packed up, because that's what I'm used to doing. That's what I do. You do what's in front of you, and you just get it done. And, there were some, downs to that as far as, but, we got here. So you learn to pivot, and as an entrepreneur, you're pivoting every day. You're making those small little directional turns, just like in your car. You have to be able to steer your car. Yeah. And well, now with Teslas, have to steer, but I'm going off subject. But you're not driving the car, you're steering it to make sure it stays in your lane. So that if you want to switch lanes, you can, but you have to do it strategically.
That's right.
Damn,
Absolutely.
I am good.
Absolutely. 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 Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I was tooting my own horn.
No, you did really well. I was impressed.
It's all right.
Absolutely.
But that's all I have to say to
every now
that.
and
So.
then.
Yeah, you do have to do that pivot every once in a while, and that was really good. I was impressed with the way you made that whole thing circle around. I had a question for the two of y'all and everything, based on what you just said about your husband and everything. Because sometimes when I talk to friends in the entertainment field, and I do have friends in the entertainment field, and I do have a few, not as many, in the military, and sometimes they will give this argument that you can't, the two can't match together. So they will tell you that like military shouldn't have relationships with military in that social space, and they will say that actors shouldn't date actors, or even singers and things along those lines. So do you buy that pigeonhole thing or not? Because I've heard that say that entertainers should stay away from entertainers and military should stay away from military. So I'll start with you, Kat, because apparently you're both military. So apparently it worked for you. I know it worked for my cousin.
It did, because we're still people.
Right.
You're around military all the time. I think, being in the military, marrying military, they understand, the give and take and what's going on. And, if I had married someone who's a civilian, I'm not sure he would have understood, well, why do you have to go? Why can't I go? Why do we have to move here? Why can't I just stay? You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, it worked for me, and it's still working.
Gotcha.
Big
What about
facts.
yourself, Aswan?
Big facts, Kat. So I'm single, but I piggyback 100% what Kat just said, because it's a, unfortunately, we say we understand, but when we're in the thick of it, we don't really understand. So if I'm a busy person and I'm dating someone who is content with working 9 to 5, has no aspirations, just want to chill, relax, whatever, they have more time on their hands to think about me, right? Which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it becomes a bad thing because we don't know how to communicate. To talk about what Philip said, we don't know how to communicate effectively enough to voice that opinion and allow one another to speak freely, if you will, without being in our feelings about what they said. So in the entertainment industry, this is why you actually end up having a lot of entertainers date entertainers, because they understand the hustle and bustle of building and making a career. A regular civilian or, a post office worker is not going to completely understand that. And that's where you have the drawback of, really not being able to have something that works out long term. So I think to a degree, you almost have to, depending on your field. I like to believe you should not have to, though, but it comes down to finding the right person who really does try everything in their means to understand what you're going through in your situation.
That makes sense. And Karen, how do you balance that work-life balance? Because that's actually where I was going with this whole conversation and everything. So how do you balance that work-life balance? Because real estate is a hard field, and a lot of times you are gone all day long to all parts of Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and the various other cities. So who knows when you'll get home?
Well, I can just sum it up. I'm living my best life now. You know what I mean?
Living my best life.
Yeah. I'm gonna say my age because I don't care. Females aren't supposed to say their age. I'm 65. I'll be 66 in a couple of months.
Let's go. Hey.
I'm living my best life. I'm doing me.
Go.
I'm unapologetic. That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm a nice person, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the
I'm a
thing.
nice
You can be
person, but I'm living my
unapologetically you.
best life.
Yeah.
I don't, need at this point. I'm always, I think we talked about this in the beginning about, getting feedback from others. You take in what you need.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I heard that, but I'm still gonna do. I've gotten to this point in my life, 65 years old, going on 66, and yes, we've spoken about all the things that we've experienced, and we snap back. I've had a lot of those. Tons of them, but I've had more good things when I think back. I've had more good things than bad, right? But in answer to your question, in terms of how do I balance, I do my best. I take care of myself though first, okay? Because there's gonna be somebody else out there, another realtor, that can take care of XYZ person. I'm not the only realtor in North Carolina. I get that, okay? I know that, but I take care of me first. And when I take care of me, the exercise and the eating right, it just spills over to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody sees that. I come in the room and I'm strong and I'm secure and, I'm not tired, and all of that. And they can see that. And it just, it rubs right off on them. It does, pretty much, from what I can see.
Yep, that makes sense. Hey, Kat, what is your dream goal or your dream ambition? Like if right now you're doing all this podcasting, you're definitely doing all this work with the women that have served in the military as well. But if you had like a dream goal, like if somebody was able to just put out all, say money's no concern, and I know it is, it's a concern for everybody, but there was just a dream that you could have and there was, able to materialize tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe somebody watching from Australia or one of our other countries that listens to this show and they can make it happen. And I'm going to ask Aswan the same thing eventually. But if there's that dream, benevolent person out there that can make those dreams take place, whether it's travel, whether it's the career, whether it's whatever, what would that be for you?
I would want my podcast career to turn into a paid speaking gig.
Ooh.
But I want to be able to speak to organizations such as maybe Coca-Cola, or, we're talking like big, big money.
Right.
To talk to these organizations to help them understand what veterans, but especially women veterans, what we bring to the table and why they should hire more veterans in their organization.
Just really quickly before I get to ask one, and I alluded to it at the beginning, are those figures still as bad as they used to be? Because like I mentioned, the show that I did with Captain, and I can tell you, he talked about things like suicide rates and some other rates that were very high in the military. And I was just wondering, and this was, of course, we stopped doing that because of COVID. So the last one we did was probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I imagine those figures are still very alarming and still very scary. Are they still as bad as I'm thinking they are? Kat?
Oh, you're asking me. Yes, especially for women. It's harder for women when they get out of the military because they have they might be suffering from a military sexual trauma, which causes PTSD, which causes them to lose their children, which causes them to be homeless. And there's nobody that understands, not even family members. They try to talk to them and they don't understand. So the incidences of military sexual trauma for men and women are higher than they should be. And it's higher than the numbers that they say because a lot of it goes undetected. No, they don't say anything to anybody. And so that's why it's really important for veterans and especially women to stay connected with their other women veterans when they get out of the military because maybe Aswan doesn't know anybody, but maybe I do that can help them. So I can't help them, but I know somebody that does. And then we can do this, what I call a warm handoff, where I can call this person, we can have a 3-way meeting. And once I know that that person feels comfortable in that situation, then I can back out. Too many times they're like, oh, here, take this card and call this person. Well, I don't know who that person is. Why would I talk to them? But if there's a warm handoff, they feel like they're being cared for. They feel like that someone cares about their situation. So yes, it's still as bad as it is.
Well, that's sorry to hear that. I'm going to get to that question for Aswan as well. But before I get to that question, since he's a military veteran as well, the other organization that I heard a lot of people give really flack to and has been in there for a while is unfortunately the VA. So is that reputation still out there as well? Is the VA still getting that reputation of not being as supportive of their veterans as they used to be, from what you've heard, Aswan?
I think that's subjective, personally. Because again, Kat has her expectations, right? Mm-hmm. Her perspective on how they should operate. We all have our perceptions, and personally, like, is it the greatest thing? No, but what really is, right? They've done great by me for the most part. But they can definitely get better, right? Because they played a big part into, a kind of big pitfall that I went through with dealing with health and my ulcerative colitis. But on the flip side of that, they've also been very, very great at helping me with that too, right? So again, we're so quick to focus in on the negative of what an organization or a person is doing versus all the upside and the good potential and all of that.
Right.
And, and that goes to, really just appreciating things for what they are and trying to work together to make them better. So I don't really have any ill thing towards the VA, but it can be better, but it could also be way worse too. So
that makes sense. And like I asked Kat earlier, and that's where I was going to ask both of you and Karen, is if some benevolent person, wouldn't be me because my bank account is looking kind of slim these days and everything, but if some benevolent person has some amazing abilities that is listening and wants to make something happen, what would that be for you? Whether it's in that liquor space or whether it's in that space of entrepreneurship, or maybe you're ready to be the next Denzel Washington. Or
man, so everything that I'm doing, I absolutely love. So in a perfect world, You know, I'll have the investors. We'll have the investors that we need for the vodka to keep doing what we're doing. It is Black owned. It is, you know, a premium vodka. So we want to push that thing to the highest it can be. And on a personal selfish note, you know, my acting career, you know, I've been wanting to do comedy stuff and also do action films, you know, like I look great, you know, I keep my body in shape. I actually do stunts as well. I don't focus on as much on them, but instead of just those stunts, I would love to be able to put my athletic ability to play in films. So yeah, going after that Denzel Washington, going after that Will Smith. I'm 100% hungry. I want more of it. So I need producers, writers, I need them all. You know, looking to also build my team. So, you know, managers, agents, the whole nine. I'm retooling because I'm that hungry to be in that industry. I personally love it. So I will, it's something that luckily enough, you can continue to do forever, you know, as some of the greats are showing us.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'm gonna have to should put you in touch with Fran Harris, who is a former WNBA player, and she's actually got a I want to say she always gets me when I call it the wrong thing, but I think it's a energy drink as opposed to a sports drink, whichever one. And she's definitely involved in that space with her Electra, and definitely is involved in that whole kind of concept of merging with other people that are fellow beverage people. So I've got to put you in touch with her. And like I said, she's been on the show a couple of times and also been part of a Black Business Expo that I do with a good buddy of mine, Eric Kelly. And we've actually got one coming up in November. So I need to put you on that as well. But definitely,
here's what I learned. Ask for what you want. So please go ahead, send that over. I'm going to be on you to make sure that you do just that. Thank you, sir.
No problem. I will definitely, and I have no problem with being tagged and bothered and doing, but being persistent. And speaking of persistence,
you really do have to, man. Like,
we've referenced it a couple times.
And you just do what you love.
Couple of times, but we've both done something that I should be ashamed of myself for. So before I get to Karen, all of us have been talking all this time, and well, except for I think Kat did. But you have yet to say the name of the brand, so we need to say the name of the brand so that folks can know about it and everything, and so they can go and purchase it. Because I think Kat did say the name of her podcast. I don't know that Karen necessarily said the name of her. Yes, she did. She did say the name. She did say the name of her real estate company.
I think she did. She
I
said
did.
EXP,
Yeah,
right?
I did.
Yeah.
Aswan is the guilty party.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
EXP Realty is the brokerage that holds my license. The name of my firm is Montavon Triad Properties, brokered by EXP Realty. And Montavon is my last name. My whole name is LeBeau Montavon.
Can I just say something, Mark, to Karen?
Yes.
I want to thank you for stepping into what I call your queendom. I turned 64 in June.
Okay. Yep.
So we're stepping into that spotlight. We're stepping into that, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
And I hate that, I don't like that cliche 64, 65 is new 55 and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I got the same question for you.
You know what? I'm just doing it. And people ask, especially, here in North Carolina, I got to pull up the license.
I know.
God,
Right?
you know what I mean? I get so tired. I don't know.
But Karen and Kat, I've got to ask both of y'all, because I asked my dad this as well. He's 82, and I am convinced that he found the fountain of youth, and he has not given it to me yet. Even though I do appreciate what Aswan said about still looking good and everything. But that being said, I think that because he does exercise, he does the whole 9 yards, and he's actually an artist of photography artist and an artist of other mediums as well. So just like I have said on this program and other programs, and I think I might have even told Dad this directly to his face, I want to know when y'all found, that famous Florida fountain of youth, and where you're hiding it, where the refrigerator is. That actually got it.
Well, my ladies, my daughters, they keep. I have my kids late in life, because I was doing me, having a good time, and but I wanted children, and so. They keep me going. They're just like, yeah, okay, Mom. The Instagram and all that sort of stuff. but I just the outlook. I just have the outlook, and I, as one when you're talking about what what you're striving for, it's a lot of the things you said, and I think to myself, you know, what is it that I aspire? Well, first of all, real estate has no color to it. Okay, that's my opinion. It's green. But at the beginning, of all of this, I did say that, my big why, because we talked about that, is to meet and greet people of color because they believe that they can't have, they're not allowed to have a piece of this, great American dream, at real estate. And I don't need to convince them. Okay, I just need to show them and to demonstrate that yes, it is, it's done. Okay, you just need to do the right, do the things. You follow the formula, you follow the recipe, and it's yours. Okay, I mean it is because I've had
Big facts.
It's happening. I've had it happen just recently. I mean, I just want to take that woman and put her all over North Carolina. I do, because she just she's still young. She just turned 50. That's young to me. Okay.
Yes.
And, single parent. And she's in a brand new house. I mean, yes, I helped her, but she did it. She's the one that did it. And I remind her of that. You did it.
Amazing.
No doubt about that and everything. Aswan, you still owe us the name of the brand and everything.
Yeah, 100%. So it's Cold Blue. And that's spelled COLBLEU. Cold Blue Vodka. Cold Blue is actually French. It's the French translation for blue collar. Ralph Faulkner is my god brother. He's the mastermind behind it. Worked at a steel mill. His parents got in a car accident. He was determined to make things happen. We're family oriented, blue collar people from Cleveland, Ohio. And we're redefining what it means to be blue collar. Because, we live this life. We have in this form, one way to live it. And we want to experience the finer things in life, the higher quality of life and live it on our terms. And, so that's why we made a quality product as well to where, it's sippable, made corn based, American made, distilled in Florida, 8 times distilled. You can get it mostly at Total Wines. We have Sam's Club picking them up soon. Like I said, we're mainly in California. We are in North Carolina now.
Real good.
Ohio now. Like I said, we do have a couple partnerships with some teams. So we have that thing going. It's in New York, New Jersey. I mean, you can go on the website and we list where all of them are, where everything is at. But it's, but yeah, we're still growing.
Good.
Cool. Well, one of the things, and I know, like I said, get ready to wrap it up, and I'm not going to hold y'all up too long, but
Okay.
I do have one other guest that I've got to talk to, but y'all don't have to stick around for the whole time. But I'm just going to tell you, Aswan, that you can also possibly go to Peru, because apparently that's where my other guest is coming from, because she is an environmentalist out of the Peru area. And guess what? Met her on Clubhouse as well, because she's doing this whole thing around environmental things. She's actually got a fancy building near the famous parts of Peru, like the I forget the names of them, but there's those famous temples and everything. So she's got some property there and a lot of other things that she is doing and developing. So she is also in that real estate space, Karen, but unfortunately
okay.
is all the way there in Peru, but she is looking for partners and things out of that area as well. So we've been having this long conversation and a very beautiful conversation, and I will continue with you a little bit as well. But if the others decide to bounce off, I will not blame them and everything, because we have been talking for a long time. But definitely, if you can just share a little bit about what. You can just share a little bit about what.
I'm hungry.
I know that's right. You can share a little bit about what you got going on, and like I said, I do know that it won't be that long with you as it has been with the rest, because I've got to find some food as well. But I definitely wanted to bring you on to share a little bit about your mission as well. So definitely, if you could share a little bit about what you've got going on. I think Kat's waving because she's ready to bounce as well. So before everybody waves and says bye bye, the other thing that I do with everybody is, you saw what I did with Metaphysical. So if you hold on just 1 second, Miss Sandra and everything, Kat, if you can tell a word of positivity, a word of encouragement that you would like to share with our global audience, and then I'll talk to my last guest, Miss Sandra, about what she's got going on in Peru before having to produce somebody else's show. So I'm actually don't believe in sleep either. So I still got another 2 hours to go as well. So that being said, Kat, any words of encouragement that you want to share with our global audience? I do know we have shows out of Nigeria. We've had them out of South Africa. We've got listeners all over the country and all over the world and everything. So sometimes they watch it during the show. Sometimes they do in what my friend Brian called, when he does his show, calls team replay. So sometimes they'll go back and watch it after the fact and still gather all this great knowledge that we've been sharing. So any words of encouragement that you would like to share, Miss Cat?
Whatever it is you think you want to do, research it and then do it. Don't give excuses. Don't say I'm too old. I don't have the money. I don't know how to do it. Find out how to do it and just do it. Because if you wait, you don't have a lot of time on this earth to make an impression.
That's right.
So
Right.
just get it done. It's going to be messy. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. Yes, but just do it anyway. Just do it.
I agree with you. Before Aswan and before Karen share their story, Sandra, if you could just give a brief intro so these amazing people can know who you are, other than what I told them about you. Because if they're bouncing off, I would like them to know about you, so they need to at least know about you because they're bouncing off. So if you can just share really quickly, and of course we'll talk more, and then I'll get to Aswan and Karen as well. But I do want these amazing people to know who you are as well.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Mark, for having me here. It's so great to meet you, Aswan, Kat, and Karen. My name is Sandra. I am a Peruvian living in Peru. I was born in Lima, which is the capital of Peru. It's in the Pacific side for the country. It's kind of in the middle of South America, Peru. But I moved about 12 years ago to the Amazon rainforest of my country, to this part of Peru called Madre de Dios. That's Mother of God in Spanish.
Wow.
And it's in an area that it's amazingly life at its fullest and its best, and it's at most biodiverse presentation of divine on earth, where you can be connected to every single life form. I am there because I dedicated my life to conservation of biodiversity, of wild animals, of forests, and working with local communities, including indigenous tribes, in supporting alternatives to develop sustainable livelihoods, to protect the rainforest and to give them a better quality of life, as well as education to children in around the city and in the rural areas, to expand consciousness about the importance and raise awareness about the importance of nature in our lives, not only locally but globally as well. I founded AmazonPlanetPeru.com. You can check it out. It's a luxury eco lodge. We are in an 11th year, well, 10 years. I don't consider COVID as a year that for our business. It really hit us. But I've been bringing people from meeting and connecting with people from all around the world that come to visit Peru. This is such an amazing country to be. Mark, you were talking about Machu Picchu, which is the
Thank you.
empire of the Incas. And yes, I am only 1 hour or 45 minutes fly from Cusco, from the Sacred Valley, and the citadel of the Incas. It's also an amazing, energetic, healing place. Peru has really amazing energy to heal yourself in so many levels. The food is delicious, and when you come connected to people like myself, working towards sustainability and develop alternatives that bring money to the area, but at the same time support local livelihoods to have a better quality of life, plus supporting and preserving the natural areas that we need, not only for the local people, but as a species in our planet. Because if we're not aware of this, we have come to this official UN report saying that we are in code red for humanity. We are in the sixth mass extinction for biodiversity and for life on our planet, and the one that's most at jeopardy is this species, all of us, human species. And the reason why is that happening is because we kind of have lost our ways in realizing that we are all connected, that we
That's
are
right.
all one. We are one species. You are my brothers, you are my sisters. We are all one species, and the differences that has divided us for long, the race, the religion, the culture, those are things that actually enrich us to be one united global community again. So, what I've been working in the past couple of years is to, especially well, with COVID, actually kind of helped to push this mission of not my mission because it's my mission is just I'm part of a bigger mission. I'm part of a bigger group of people. I imagine included because I know you're probably helping someone somewhere around the world, and this is why my mission personally is to connect with every other human being around the world that is doing something at a local, regional, or global level to connect, not only to preserve the Amazon rainforest by connecting with me through the different options that there are, but also to empower the people to be the best version of themselves wherever they are on this planet. And well, that's a sum up, kind of.
I appreciate it.
Wow,
Yes.
that's a
Hey,
Yeah,
lot.
that's
Aswan, just
cool.
really quickly and
Wow.
That's
everything,
a
that was
lot.
some amazing work and everything. Aswan, I think you've got to get an acting role in Peru so that you can stay in her lodge and all of that. But what would
Yeah.
your words of positivity and encouragement be, since I know y'all need to get to dinner and I can talk to her
Sandra,
for a
what's
little
your
bit as
last
well?
name? What's your last? Sorry, Mark. What's
Uh,
your last name?
my name is Fernandez. Fernandez
Fernandez.
Sandra.
Osoris, because in Peru we use the dad's and the mom's last name, so we have two last
Yeah, I
names.
know.
But
I'm used to that. I lived in California, and
yeah,
the men the men had their mother's maiden name and their father's father's surname. So I'm very familiar with that. So your name is Sandra Fernandez. Is that right?
Fernandez
Okay,
Osoris.
Fernandez. Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it. Aswan,
Man, so
other
many
than the fact you want to go to
accomplishments.
Peru to get an acting job.
Listen, I want to go everywhere to get an acting job.
That's
Peru is
funny.
actually, funny enough, is actually on my list of travel. Well, the whole world is. I want to see
Okay,
everything
yes.
because I think it just adds to your perspective. So, um, what I would like to say is we have one shot at this life in this
Right.
form, and
Yep.
we waste so much time. You're going to suffer, right? So if you're going to suffer doing something that you enjoy, that brings you joy, that excites you, or something. You know what I mean? Like you owe it to yourself to attempt whatever, that you think about most of the time.
That's right.
And what I
Mhm.
encourage all the listeners to do is tap into your spiritual side a little bit more and learn to accept things and appreciate things for what they are, because that's also how you will never get rid of racism. It's, as long as there's different colors in the world, you won't get rid of racism, right? As long as there's different colors in a crayon box, somebody's going to like blue over red. It's just part of what happens. But I can appreciate red just as equally as I can appreciate the blue crayon, right? It's accepting and appreciating us all for what we bring to the table, the difference that we bring into the world. Because even though I may want to do a podcast, I don't want to start it and do it. So we needed you, Mark. We needed you, Kat, to do that. And if I don't accept and appreciate that difference in you, we don't have this platform that we are on today. So I just would like to encourage everybody to just appreciate and, live in gratitude and
Yeah.
take off the pressure. Enjoy
Right.
life. Stop
Because
putting
it ain't that serious, right?
it's not like
It's
we
not
put
that
so
We have
much
to
serious.
laugh.
unnecessary pressure on ourselves,
Yep.
and I
Ain't
get it.
that
You want to
serious.
win, you want to be successful.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're going to fail. It's trial and error. Take away the pressure and just live.
No doubt about that. Karen,
Nice.
what is your thoughts and everything, other
Well,
than the fact that you want to go sell a house in Peru?
I have a couple of reminders that I have on my desk that when I get low, so I can get high, level up. And I copied it off of I think a relatives of mine, and it says, "Some days she has no idea how she'll do it, but every day she gets it done. Pray, grind, slay, repeat."
Love it, love it.
I love that
Okay.
one as well.
And then
Yeah.
there's a couple others, and this I made up. Be strategic, Okay, I won't read it all, but be strategic. I know my limits. I don't make decisions based on emotions. Okay, and I adjust my world view. Okay,
Yes.
and that speaks about what you just spoke of, Aswan. Adjust your worldview.
Absolutely.
Look at it all. Don't just compartmentalize. Okay, and be right here.
Not
Open
just
your
look at it
eyes.
all, accept it all, because
Accept,
Accept it
you
all.
you
embrace,
accepted you
embrace.
accepted the difference in the world from how you grew up, and this
Yes.
is why you're here now, right? You learn the communication devices, you learn gadgets, right? Like, we have to adapt. Our bodies is
Yeah.
changing every day, whether we want to believe change or not. Like, we're changing, period. So you have to go with the times. That's beautiful. Sorry.
Yeah. Love it.
No, I definitely agree with all of y'all on that and everything. It's actually interesting, Sandra, that you're here because I actually had a guest on a couple of weeks ago, and he actually, I hate to say it this way because he actually scared me to some degree because he's of the opinion he is also in that field of ecology and the world that if we're not careful and if we don't do some radical experiments that as you just said us humans might not be here in 10, 15, or 20 years. And I've actually got a nephew, so as I told him, I'm hoping he's wrong because they are only 13 and 14, because while I didn't have any kids and at 59 probably won't unless, well, I can't say that because I just talked to somebody that was a guest yesterday and they had, well, they
Never
were
say
a kid
never.
at age 60, so they were a kid at, they, like the father was 60 and the wife was like 40 something, but they had a
Oh
kid.
my goodness.
So
Yeah, and well,
anything,
I don't want to I don't want to scare you, but what I would like to say that the time has come for each of us as individuals to become responsible and accountable for our own actions, not only
Mhm.
as you said, Karen, at our close no level vision of what around us, but how we are part of a bigger world, beyond our house, beyond our family, beyond our neighborhood, and to be stewards of our planet and responsible to care for what's we have now and support restoration of natural areas so we do live for future generations possibility to live a thriving life as many of us are living. But we do have to recognize that many of us right now are living terrible conditions, and it's not our responsibility as individuals. I wasn't the one who's causing the people in Madagascar to right now suffer hunger, but it's our species as a whole. And it's that accountability and responsibility for us to unite and find ways to develop more sustainable, responsible, collaborative, supportive, loving ways to care for each other as species and for other species as well in common in community and love.
no,
Yes.
I definitely agree with you, Sandra. One other
Nice.
thing I'm going to just bring up really quickly is when I saw you in the Annabella's room, there were some people, including excuse me, including I think Miss Annabella, they wanted to adopt certain pets. And while I have jokingly said that I would like an otter and jokingly said that I would like a jaguar, I also know that those are probably not realistic pets. So I was just wondering if you could share some of the animals that you have. And I also remember you letting folks know that yes, you have pets. I mean, you have those animals, and yes, they are in this natural preserve, but you're not encouraging people to bring them home because they're not necessarily have them outside of their natural environment. Because it did seem like there were some people there that might have, I hate to tell you this as well, but might have had that Hollywood mentality that they kind of like want the animal to come there and live with them. And I'm going like, nah, that's okay.
Don't
Don't.
apologize to me. It's true. And it ain't just in Hollywood, though, but I hear you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
I gotta go,
Well,
guys. So I'll see you later. Thank you,
I
Mark.
thank you,
appreciate you,
Kat.
Kat,
Nice
Okay,
to
and
meet you,
definitely I look
Aswan
forward to
and
having you back at
Karen.
some other
Okay,
time. But
nice
I know you
meeting
got to
you,
bounce, so
Kat.
I appreciate
Alrighty.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Yeah, well, I want to start to say a fact that many people don't know, but wild animal trafficking is the fourth black market, most profitable black market on for humans as humanity. You have you have the number one, I think, is drugs, then weapons, then people, and then wild animals.
Wow.
So entire areas are of rainforest and natural areas are destroyed and animals are taken away, for people to get pets in their homes. So normally if you get a parrot or you get an otter, there are probably
And a
animals
zoo.
that many had to die, for that animal to arrive to your area where you are that is not natural for them. In the case
Right,
of the
right.
zoos, unfortunately, it is an industry that makes money. Conservation is also an industry that can be taken to that capitalist, not positive, not supporting ecosystem and people's side. People just make money out of it and not think about the effects. And the only encouragement I give to people is to find out where the animal that they want to have comes from. You can always find out. I am part of a group of people that have been rescuing wild animals from people that have taken them away from their natural habitat, and they usually come to us. We are a rescue center, and they come to us malnourished, hurt, they've been abused. Because an animal, when it's a baby, a wild animal especially, even a dog, when you think about it, when they're babies, they're so cute and they're so easy to handle. When they grow, what happens? They become more independent, and in the case of a wild animal, their instinct of being wild, it's always, and even though they can get used to you and you can learn not to cohabitate with them, their wildness might be dangerous. So we, in our case, we have in enclosures, but they're in enclosures just for a while. They're not pets. We don't own the animals. They are animals that, well, the government owns them, has legislation over them. And we support them in physical, psychological, and emotional rehabilitation. Monkeys. I've been mom of monkeys, of a jaguar, of a puma, of an otter. I loved Sid. It was so beautiful. But there's a point where you have to detach from the animal and remember that it's not your species and it doesn't belong in your home. It belongs in nature. So that's do a process of rehabilitation to release them back into the wild so they can return to their natural habitat and be part again of the cycle of life that allows us to have a life on this planet. Some cases in Peru specifically, the legislation on different countries may vary, but it used to be legal and now it's again, because it took it out, to have wild animals as pets. I do think that some animals can stay as pets. Some animals, for example, that we have at the rescue center, they cannot be released. They cannot be released because they are old and they are too used to having humans feeding them and caring for them. If we release them back into the wild, they'll die. And we care for these animals. So we give them a good quality of life in captivity. That should be the only reason why wild animals should be in zoos, because they cannot be released. And in your home, if some people, it happens, you have a monkey, the monkey's old, he got used to it. And I think that we should have this kind of concept of, like, when a doctor or a psychologist or a child, when you give a child an adoption, a supervisor goes to your home to make sure that your home is in good conditions and that you're a good parent. I think it should be the same for wild animals and people. If the animal is analyzed, for example, by me, I'm a biologist, I have ethology, which is animal behavior, knowledge and experience. I can analyze the animal and say, okay, this animal is suitable because I can tell by his language that he or she loves you, cares for you, respects you. And I can teach you how to cohabitate with this animal in harmony. And yeah, the animal, she or he, can live a long lasting life as your partner in life. I wouldn't call them pets. The pets are the domesticated versions we genetically modified in a lab from wild to become our buddies or our companions. Wild animals are not pets, definitely. They are individuals. Also dogs and cats, don't get me wrong. But they depend on humans because we made them. But in the case of the wild animals, they are their own individual, amazing soul energy persons. I've seen the eyes of a jaguar, I've seen the eyes of a puma, of a monkey, and you see their energy and you see their love when you care for them, and you see their hate and being afraid when humans have hurt them. So they are sentient beings as we are. And this is why I do believe that we must kind of, as humans, as following Karen's advice, expand our vision, our world vision, how we see the world, that is not only us. We're not the only species on this planet, and many others also have feelings, and we all together are living and on this planet in the now. And in order for us to keep having a good quality of life as humans, we definitely need to reduce a lot of our impact and start being more empathetic to ourselves, our own species. We're terrible with our own species and with the other species as well. So
You
so yeah,
know,
I would
no,
definitely, please contact me, anybody listening, or if you have recommendations
Yes.
for people who want to have a pet or an animal or a wild animal with them. I'm happy to do a free consultation to start and to see how we can support a good quality of life for the animal and for you, and to be happy together if you are the person that is meant to care for this animal for life and be its companion, and vice versa, her or his companion.
no, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, you're right. You're so right. My mom actually just had a dog. She had a big dog, and my brother actually still has the dog that it was the same litter of and everything. I wouldn't say it was a grandparent niece, but mom is coming up in age and everything. She hasn't quite hit the 8 number, but she's coming up near it and everything. So let's just say that as the dog got bigger, it was starting to drag mom around. So mom was like, "Nope, this dog has got to go because it's got too much weight and too much energy for me as a puppy." So she was aware of that, and like I said, she did find a new home for that dog, and I think she's been to see that new home once or twice. But you know, that is still a detachment, so she hasn't gone to visit it all that often. But and if she ever gets another dog, which I think she will, it'll be something smaller. It might be something like a you know, a poodle or something that's definitely smaller, that is more
A
manageable. So
poodle,
I can relate to
a
what you're
chihuahua.
saying in, yeah, Chihuahua or something along those lines. So I can relate to what you're saying, and also I can relate to biology because my grandfather is actually who the biology building at North Carolina Central University is named after. So I've always had a love of animals, and I actually consider myself to be an empath. I've got some friends that say that I have a very empathic view of animals because I'm the one that, even though I don't have a cat right now and or a dog, if there are cats nearby, I'm the one that will walk by and have whole conversations with them, as well as some of the neighboring rabbits, because sometimes they just need that. In my mind, they might need some of that interaction as well. It's probably good for my well-being, but I don't think that the rabbits mind either, or the cats and everything else. Because I do know there was one that was nearby, and if I walked by and I didn't say anything, if it was on the windowsill, I think it might have been getting an attitude. But that's just my joking attitude. And maybe it was just me thinking it was getting an attitude. But I'm thinking like,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
looking at me like, "Hey, wait a minute. You ain't talking to me today." I'm sure you've had some of those
Yeah.
animals in LA and everything. I'm sure you've had some animals that maybe they weren't yours, but knew them because they were your neighbors or everything. And if you didn't talk to them as one, they were probably looking at you like, "Why isn't Aswan talking to me today?"
No, 100. Yeah, I actually believe that, man. I mean, I have pets too, and I mean, same thing with plants, even, right? Like, it's living, and there's people who talk to plants, people who talk to, you know, like, they respond, right? There's an energy behind you and them and everything. So we're all intertwined together, and you know, that's why, you know, what you're doing, Sandra, is amazing,
It's
because
amazing.
it's
Amazing.
you
Yeah.
know, it's the greater good. We have to come together collectively for the earth, you
No,
know.
no
So
doubt about that. And Sandra, just really
Yeah,
quickly,
for
I was just curious.
ourselves and the earth as one. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things I was curious about is I have been a couple of times to the circus, and you mentioned the zoo. The circus is another place that I feel that we probably are not helping the animals out and everything, because a lot of times they, in my mind, are being very abused in that environment. But I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that. And while there might be some ladies that might be watching that might get mad at me saying this, but I'm not too sure how I am really that big of a fan of some of the furs and other things that we've also put on our back and everything, and then some of our
Yeah.
clothes and things along those
Yeah.
lines.
Well,
Yeah.
let me just say, before she answers, San Francisco caught on years and decades ago. You cannot wear a mink coat in San Francisco. You will have paint thrown on you in a second. Okay, don't even think about wearing any furs in San Francisco, and that's been
Yeah.
going on since forever. I mean,
Yeah.
when I came out to San Francisco in the 70s. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Consciousness.
I like that.
Consciousness has
Mhm.
definitely risen up in some
Oh
levels.
yeah.
They say that we've it's lowered, but in general, yes, we have become more conscious about how we are connected and affect other species on our use, and treating them as if they were resources and not living beings like we are. You know,
Yeah.
as you said, as one, the plants as well, the mushrooms, you know, the animals, the other animals, because we are also animals. You know, we are of the same kingdom as every other animal on this planet. No,
That's right.
the about the circus, I think that most countries have banned animals from
Circus.
circuses. You know, the ones who are not are illegal or doing it, and so that's definitely a big goal of a successful thing to happen. And more people are actually feeling reject if they would happen to come to a show where a wild animal is part of it. Most people will react bad to it because we are realizing that this is not okay. You know, and definitely, yeah, we've rescued animals that come from circuses, and they are terribly treated, and they are abused, and they are drugged, you know, and also with many zoos and other places for tourism. You know, don't, please, I do recommend everybody listening right now, watching, don't encourage or pay to go to places where they put the monkey on top of you, put the boa on top of you, go pet the elephant, no, go touch the tiger, because those animals behind the scenes are being abused, they're being chained, they're being drugged. And these are species that feel like we feel. That they don't speak human, that doesn't mean they don't feel. No, especially when it comes to the mammals and to the birds and everyone, no, but especially mammals, they're the most close to us. We're really connected. We share genes. Almost all our genetic code is connected to almost all the mammals on this planet. No, so we are closer in kin than we believe that we really realize. No, and in the case of the industries of animals, I mean, I definitely don't encourage people to uh, use animals that come from industries. No, even when it comes to food. No, I don't. I'm not a vegetarian, for example. No, I do eat animal protein, but in my case, I only eat chicken and the eggs of chickens that they come from open farm raising, that I know they are taking nicely care of. Not that their eggs, no, they free range and put their eggs on the wild. No, because I'm gonna tell you something that is connected to our health as well. Oh, it's probably common for all farms that raise chickens for the eggs. They have them in these closed boxes with light 24 hours on the day, so they can poop their eggs constantly with non-stop situation. And ask yourself something. Go for 48 hours with a light on top of you and do not sleep. And then no, and analyze this. No, it's going to be filled with toxins of your own body, you know, oxidating because of the stress you are feeling. And this is what we're being fed. And then we wonder why we have cancer. Then we wonder why we have autoimmune diseases. And then we wonder why we're suffering mental situations and all of these things. It's because we're allowing industries to just make us this dumpster of their economy. They become richer and we become sicker, and then part of a system of health that is not working towards giving us solutions to really heal, just to keep us medicated.
We have to be anti. We have to be anti it. So, you know, we kind of force change to a degree, because to your point, right? Like if you eat something that's bad, you get food poison, right? But if you eat healthy greens, right, like the things that grow up, right? So most of the greens from the soil, they grow up towards the sun. That's healthy, right? Dead carcasses and all that, what happens? They go down into it. So it's the negative. If you eat the bad stuff, then you start to feel bad. But if you eat good stuff, you feel energized, you know, without having the caffeine and all that, which I don't personally do. But yeah, no, it's a really valid point that she just pointed.
Very valid point and everything. The other thing I was curious, Sandra, is I've had some interesting conversations. I know that the conversation usually in academia is that we're the smartest species out there. And I know that, of course, we're going to have that attitude because we're the ones that are the ones making these studies and everything. But I'm actually of the opinion that there might be some animals out there, maybe the dolphins, maybe some of the other ones that might be as smart, if not smarter than us and everything. So as one in that biology space, do you believe, or are you that same opinion that humans are the ultimate in the chain of animals and species?
Yeah, well, okay. I do believe that we in life on Earth, Earth is to be said to start or be born about 4.5 billion years ago, and life on Earth with a one single cell that then became ate another cell and became a pluricellular being, and then boom, 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 that big bang of life happened. It was 3.5 billion years ago. Only a cosmic year ago, our species was born. No, we appeared only, according to some numbers can vary, but 300,000 to 200,000. When we're talking about 5 billion years that life started, and all this amazing web of life became. There was something on this journey of evolution that happened, and it's said to be around for our species itself. No, it's said to happen about 70,000 years ago. This Big Bang happened again, but not Big Bang at a species, population, different animals, plants, fungi, bacteria level, but at a level of one species and inside this species, and this is the consciousness. No, consciousness in our species took this speed like Big Bang of amazing evolution that allowed us to develop a connection of our neurons that gave us this ability, this talent to be able to see the world around us beyond of the living in the now moment. No, this is amazing. It gave us amazing qualities and capabilities beyond our imagination. Civilizations before, well, back then, they were able to connect at a deeper level than the physical realm. And the connection and the language with our species and other species was not us talking like this, was the language of energy and thought and feeling. No, and we were connected with the other species that I do believe have this as well. No, but
That energy.
in our the energy, and in our case, what I do believe make us unique is that we were able to create new things. So I don't believe that we are higher. I do believe that we were given this amazing opportunity to create things out almost of nothing, because our ideas, we are able to act on it and create something new. Technology is an example. We are the only species that has come up with a new thing that didn't exist before that. And
Yeah.
it's technology.
I love to piggyback that too, because and that's the thing, it's subjective, right? Like we like to believe we're the highest hierarchy, and I think that comes from the versatility that we have as humans, right? Like our bodies does some amazing things in terms of repairing itself and producing babies and healing, just all of it, right? So we have the versatility to speak a language of, whatever, and then understand to a degree different animals and things like that through studying. But, again, I'm sure if you ask a tiger, that same question is going to be different. But, we just see it all. We're the versatile species, right, if you will, right? So, and we happen to be bigger than a few of the other ones, obviously, with the versatility that we have and the access that we have. So,
I want to share something. I don't know if you knew about this in the case of the African elephants. They are a matriarchy. It's the female, the head of the group. And when one of the elders is ready to die, they know, he or she knows it's her or his time to die. And you've seen this behavior of them getting together in a circle with their heads kind of connected, on a circle base. Yeah. And you wonder what they're doing. Well, they have to be talking something between them. Elephant talk. And then it's understood by ethologists that it is a goodbye ceremony where the male, the individual that is ready to die or saying goodbye, leaves his own path and goes to a specific place that is a cemetery, and they go to die there. Okay. And there are elephant cemeteries where they go to die, and the herd that said goodbye, they keep going because they live in the now, and in the now doesn't have time for you to sit down and say, okay, what am I going to do today? That's humans. The now is just living in the moment and acting and doing. And they're living and acting, finding food, finding water, finding places where they can sit down the day. And always in their case, care for the babies, because the elephant, the only one that kills the big elephants is humans. They don't have any other predator as the big ones. But when they go again through the area where the cemetery is, they go and visit and stop. Oh, wow. And you've seen the herd. You see the herd around the bone area or the cemetery area doing their circle and going to visit their dead. So there's some things that we think it's only humans doing it. There's some most of things
have their version of it.
They're
And
very
most
like
of the
that.
things that we do come from an inspiration of nature. No, our creations, yeah, we are the ones who got our hands. They're animals that use tools. We definitely took it to the next level, as I said, because of this, the intellectual side of us went woohoo. No,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
consciousness of being, the consciousness of spirituality, of being part of a whole, woo, drop down.
Yeah.
And this is why we are in the situation where we're killing each other, or we are being blind when others are being killed, and we are allowing the extreme poverty, extreme richness to be normal.
Yeah, you're right
So,
about that.
Point. We're animalistic, so
Yeah.
we are very much.
and we say the others are the savages.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
it is very complex. It's not complicated, because complicated is the same as complex.
No.
We are a complex species in a complex world, and we
make it complicated.
That's it.
That's it. We make it complicated. There's no
Complex
doubt
is
about
very
that.
simple, but we
But as
complicate
one,
ourselves.
I'm not too sure. I think that I did hear about that elephant and that tiger having that internet conversation. So I'm still convinced that my cats and dogs back in the past might have been having those conversations as well. So, you never can tell what they're doing when they're going and walking across your
100%.
keyboards
There
and
is some
everything.
communication there.
They might be
Some
actually sending
scientists,
secret emails.
Scientists in the plant and the mushroom world, they're confirming this interconnection and underground, and how it's not an isolated tree, it's not
You
an
have
isolated
roots,
mushroom.
like
The roots and the mycelia of the
lot
mushroom
happens down
connect everything, and they're talking to each other to see where to grow better, how to do this, how to do that. It's just that we have become so anthropomorphized, thinking we are the only ones, we are the best, that we haven't really taken the time to learn the language of the other species, to connect and live the life that we are meant to be in this life, which is to be stewards of this planet, to support growth, to support collaboration. And just to include this, there's Lynn Margulis is a microbiologist that she did a study in bacteria, and how they evolve in communities, well, in their populations and communities. And the moments of most successful evolution and growth of the communities wasn't during the competitive periods that exist in nature, because you have to compete for resources, you have to compete at a very basic ecological level. It was the moments of collaboration that allowed them to evolve and become better and bigger as communities.
Yeah, but Sandra, the other thing that I've always been fascinated by, and I think that they say, and I'm like I said, I've got family members that have passed that were scientists, and my dad is definitely a science fan. And I don't know if he would consider himself a scientist, but he's definitely a science fan. But isn't it like only about 10% of that human brain that we have that we actually use? Because I know it's something that's ridiculously low, that they say that we should be using much more than I thought it was 10%. Maybe it's a little bit more.
Some people say it's only 2%.
Wow.
Imagine that. And yes, we definitely become so analytical, so reductionist and fragmented in our way of thinking and seeing the world only with our 5 physical senses, that we forget that we are pure energy. What we can touch right now, I mean, we feel this is solid, but it's actually cells that are made out of atoms. And atoms, if anybody knows a little bit of, remembers their physics from school, it is a nucleus, an emptiness, and this electrons going around, but emptiness, space, nothingness, so and it's energy just flowing to, that it's so connected, to create this amazing things, in our case life, that is able to think by itself, to act by itself, and I to make people kind of wonder and find out more of how we are beyond our physical body and our mind. We have to expand our vision of what it is to be alive in this planet.
100%. Which is why you also, it helps to have a belief in a higher power, whoever your God is.
Yeah, no matter the name. I mean, this is something that
it's
for
not
me,
about that, right?
We need to take out this division, because you can have 1,000 names according to where you are on this planet, but it's still the same power that created everything. When did it create it? We don't know. No, if it's a he, a she, a it,
but isn't that part of the problem?
We don't know.
Yeah,
what's the problem?
Sandra, isn't that part of the problem? I'm gonna tell you, because I've actually had this conversation on a couple of these shows, is that too many of our, and I know we're talking about biology and science, but too many of our religious organizations get caught up in what I call the my way or the highway syndrome, meaning that you've got to come their way in order to get to the higher level. And therefore, that just adds to the division and everything, because you're feeling that I've got to be either go the way of Christ, or I've got to go the way of Muhammad, or I've got to go this way or that way. But at the end of the day, when I have studied, and I'm not saying that I'm a philosophy major or even well, actually at Marquette, you were required to have a certain amount of theology and philosophy courses. So you might as well call that my other minor, other than the minor that I had, which was poli-sci, because it is a Jesuit university. But as I recall, it was that most of the world religions, in my mind, have the same core principles: love your parents, love your neighbor, love nature, and love what's around everything. Those are the core principles of every religion. As a matter of fact, I think that one of the major networks, it might have been ABC, did a series like some decades or so ago, and that's what they found was that it didn't matter whether it was Eastern or Western or whatever, they had this core principles, but it was kind of this my way or the highway attitude, and it was also the extremists on all sides that were the ones that got in our way a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of what I don't know if you've heard about this term, but it's officially been considered the reason why we are the way we are as humans now, and it's called the human condition. It is. You can call it a disease. You can call it a condition. I think it's a better explanation. And it's indoctrination and conditioning that we have suffered for the past millennia of years, in which, for my perspective and common vision of how we've been moving as a species, this amazing power that we all have inside, because we are not gods or we are not the higher power, and we are at the same time, because we were created by this power. So it is inside of us, but in connection with everything. So when you bring ego to the table, and a group of people having this power of being the light and being the darkness, being the whole and being the part at the same time, being everything and being nothing, because we are both of those things. They're not opposites. We're both those things. Some people took this knowledge, took this wisdom, took this power, and decided to turn it into the I power.
Right.
When you act in the I version, that's when you go to the extremes of no, is what I say.
Yeah.
And the I, and you get together, the three of us are I people, so we coincide, or okay, our I is gonna be this, and everybody that's not this I is and
that goes back to what I was saying before, Mark, with if we just live in gratitude and appreciate everyone and what they bring to the table and the difference it is, right? We can all be cohesive, right? It really is that simple.
We raise the vibration with that way that you talk.
Is that if we all did raise the vibration by living more consciously, those type of things, it does really help the case. But, it's our level of attachment to things too, right? I don't care if you could root for a different football team than me. And if my level of attachment is so high that I disregard what you say or how you feel as a human being rooting for your team, then that's where the selfishness comes into play. Some things we have to loosen our level of attachment, to a degree, and challenge ourselves. I challenge myself every day, so I don't need to be right. I just want to know truth, right? Whatever that truth is. And I'm always discovering, right? So I think if we just kind of got to that point, it would help us all out a lot.
I agree with you a lot on that and everything, even though I'm upset as one, because that means that you're not rooting for either the Minnesota Vikings or the Milwaukee Brewers or the Philadelphia 76ers right now and everything, because those are my teams and everything. And the 76ers only because of Doc Rivers, because I went to school with Doc Rivers, because I actually float around going to wherever he is at and everything. So I usually only root for wherever he's at because he was a schoolmate. But the rest of them, the Minnesota Vikings and the Milwaukee Brewers, you got to root for them. Otherwise, I think there's going to be some issue and everything.
It's all good. See, I'm loyal, so I'm all Cleveland teams.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Sandra I'm thinking that Sandra's probably all Peru in soccer.
I do watch some No, I'm not a sports like follower or fan. I do not engage on those things. Yeah.
You're doing right by not engaging, because that might be lower than vibrations, just to kind of like jokingly say that and everything. But Sandra and I do need to wrap up because I got to do a friend of mine's show very shortly and everything. And I'm glad that you were able to join. But before you leave, and this is probably a long-winded question, so I might get you to come back later if you're available on another show. But in this networking, we talked about it earlier, and Aswan will know where I'm going with this. Sometimes it's a field that we're not doing enough education of core principles. And at the time we were talking earlier, we were talking about maybe some degree vocations and the arts. But I also don't think that we're teaching enough, at least in the American school system, but I even think maybe even in the global school system, enough about science. So as one in the science field, do you think that we are teaching our youngsters at an early age? Because like I said, I know one of the things that I admire is that when my nephews, who are now 12 and 13, were youngsters, Dad was showing them literally around, showing them like animals and maybe little insects and things of that nature, showing them trees, showing them the difference of the types of trees and types of plants and leaves. And I'm sure some of my neighbors and friends were probably thinking like, why is Mr. Lee teaching them that? They're not even going to register that at this age and everything. But I was just wondering, do you feel that we are doing enough education of our youth about science in the school system?
What I think, because I do believe it applies to every society and every country, is that despite of being the science or whatever subject we're teaching, I do believe we need a systems change, well, in everything, but specifically about education. We need a systems change because we are teaching children to know facts. We're not teaching children to be receptive, to be patient, to be tolerant, to be loving, to be caring, to be empathetic. So what I would kind of, if I was, okay, Sandra, you become now the president of saying how education is going to come. So let's say I would do take science, the best part of science. What is it? Is the methodological, the scientific method. The scientific method is about observation and seeing what is around you, and getting your conclusions of what it can be and asking you questions, and then going out there and empirically seeing if those questions have answers. Getting those answers and seeing if you're wrong and right without any attachment. If you're wrong, great, I'm wrong. I discovered this. If I'm right, okay, I'm right. And for me, taking children into nature and to not only to know the facts, this is a tree, it has parts, but just this is a live being. Connect with that being. This being breathes like you breathe.
Hug a tree.
Hug the tree, feel the energy, talk to the tree, sense its response, and then teach them how the H, 2 H's plus an O makes water, and water goes with the light, breaks, and then you get the oxygen that allows us to breathe. And thanks to this amazing machine, that we're killing at the second in millions of hectares, I do wonder if we have realized as a species and individually and as a collective, what are we going to be breathing if trees are gone and if oceans are polluted?
True.
I mean, we just experienced a disease that affected our breathing as the main cause. So now imagine, keep killing all the trees, keep polluting the oceans. We won't
and we
have
don't
oxygen.
have that support. Yeah, we lose that support.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I do believe that science, through the new goggles of a holistic, encompassing all interconnected sphere of reality, in which is not just what you see, is what you see and what you feel and what you sense, and how does it make you feel, and how do you think it makes other people feel. It is, for me, how we should go about education and science, for kids to develop a sense of wonder, a sense of asking questions, not just following the rules.
Well, kids do that naturally. They do.
I know, but we cut that short. But we cut that short with the classes, with the type of classes and the type of indoctrination in schools that we're giving. We don't allow them to be creative. No, you can't. No, you can't do this.
Well, I think it depends. Because also growing up, it was one of my favorite subjects, science, and watching Bill Nye the Science Guy, and we had field trips and got the sap out of the tree, the maple and all, so
That's great.
I don't know how it is now in terms of that, but I know personally for me growing up, I think that's one of the things that allowed me to grow and also tap into my spiritual side more. Like I love being outdoors, which is also why I love being in LA, is, it's so detoxing, like to go out in nature and just breathe and relax and not have the hustle and bustle of cars and
Yes.
machinery and buildings and so many people around. It's a different energy. It's less stressful, so I think it's definitely important. I think it's important.
Yes,
No,
and
no doubt about that.
and that and to give a variety of options, because it's not one thing. What I started telling people from my vision is things in life is not this or the other, in the sense that the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
No, it can be
It's all of it.
it
It's
can
all
be
in-
red, it can be yellow, it can be orange. It doesn't have to be one. For you, great, but not for the next person. That's what we need to go back to, loving that difference instead of saying, "Oh my God, he doesn't like the color that I like." No, great, it's better because I don't have to then compete with him for the color.
Exactly.
It makes a lot of sense and everything. I definitely agree with you on that. Sandra, like I said, I got to get ready to wrap up. It's been a great show, and
Yes.
I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I've actually surprised that Aswan stayed with me as long as he did, because he was here for
Yeah.
3 hours
Thank
and
you,
everything.
I mean,
Aswan. Great.
she caught me, man. I love science. I love all that stuff. So I was like, I gotta
And
get
now
to
you
a
have,
script,
and
but
now you
I
have your
wanted-
contact to come to Peru, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming to Peru. I'm
Yep.
coming for sure. So I'll make sure we'll connect somehow.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Marcus set it up.
I'll set it up. I'll make sure it happens.
Perfect.
Sandra, the thing that I asked everybody that you didn't get to is, it is a global network, the International Broadcast Media. So any words of positivity or encouragement that you would like to leave, as well as ways that folks can reach you and learn more about what you're doing in this amazing work. And then I'm getting ready to wrap it up with a kind of a little mini contest that I have going on as well. So y'all may see some banners going across the screen as well, but I'll explain that after you give your words of encouragement.
Yes, I would. Oh, okay. I would start with something that I do every morning, and I've been practicing this for almost a couple of fully a year. Every time I wake up in the morning, that means that I'm asleep, and all of a sudden my eyes open, and I realize it's one more day. That means that I'm alive. So that means there's opportunity. So the first thing I do is smile. And it has happened to me sometimes that I've had a hard day, or I know something I'm gonna have a lot of work or something that I'm not a fan of doing that day. And it has happened to me that it's like having to force the smile. It's happened, but I still do. I go and then I take a deep breath in to go like this, and then a deep breath out, and then the smile comes up for me, and then I say thank you. Thank you, because no matter what is going to happen that day or happen to you in the past is gone. No, you have that day to start over every time, and you're alive, and you have that blessing. No matter what you believe in, you have that blessing. So say thank you and start your day thinking, I am amazing. I love myself. Because what you say to yourself, it doesn't matter. It is everything. If you wake up saying, "Oh, my day is gonna suck," your day is going to
You
suck.
get what you look for.
So exactly. So that would be my share and what I practice, and it has definitely, my life in this year, after practices this for a whole year, has manifested amazing things for me. The things that I wanted, the people that I wanted, the connections, the goals, and I see everything that comes to me as a blessing, even the bad things. I had the COVID, and we had a flood in our region that literally flooded my entire complex in the Amazon. I didn't fall down. People that I care have died, and okay, yes, shit happens. And I something that it helped me a lot to live my life to the fullest is I don't fear death. I don't fear death because I do realize that if we are alive, Death is part of it. So just live your life to the fullest, because as you say, your days, we don't live forever. So don't waste time complaining or saying bad things to you. Say always good things to you, because maybe you didn't do great this time, but you'll do it better if you believe in yourself and love yourself. So yeah,
Well, I appreciate it and everything. I appreciate everybody who's been a guest today. And I'm just going to give a couple of these clues and run it across. And, you know, if y'all want to play along, y'all can. But one of the things, and it's our mystery guest that I will reveal next week. I revealed our mystery guest at the beginning of the show. But her recent book was published in 61 years after her death. And hitting a straight lick with a crooked stick was published in 2020. So that was the book that I'm looking for, and all of that. And her out of print work was revived more than a decade after her death. So that's a little bit about our mystery guest that will be revealed next week as part of one of our segments that we do here. And actually, Alice Walker, you know, Alice Walker of Color Purple, pretended to be her niece while searching for her unmarked grave, speaking of life and all of that. And she was known for making up details of her life as she went along, sometimes out of necessity. And we know sometimes you just got to make up things out of life and all of that. So she was known for doing things along those lines. And she said many of her works in her hometown of Edenville, Florida, except guess what? It wasn't really her hometown. She was actually born in a part of Alabama, and her family relocated to Edenville, the oldest incorporated Black town in the U.S., when she was a toddler. And she also graduated with a degree in anthropology from Barnard College, where she trained under pioneering scientist Francis Bois. So definitely that's a little bit about this particular person. And she was the first Black woman to graduate from Barnard College as well. So that's a little bit about this particular person. And she was considered a central figure in the Harlem Renaissance. So that was a little bit about her, a central figure within the Harlem Renaissance. And of course, I love finding quotes up from some of my mystery guests. And I may have some other clues next week before I reveal them. But there are years that ask questions and years that answer. So definitely that's a great quote and everything. And she also said, love makes your soul crawl out from its hiding place. So definitely that's one. And you'll love this one since you are in that research space. But she said, research is a formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose. So she said,
I love that one.
poking and prying with a purpose. And this one is folks that are thinking about sorrow and everything. She says, I have been in sorrow's kitchen and licked out all the pots. Then I have stood on the peaky mountain wrapped in rainbows with a harp and a sword in my hands. And then she said, people can be slave ships in shoes. And yes, we can be our own worst enemies. We've been talking that all during this show and everything. And she also said, I did not fall in love. I made a parachute jump. And she also says, God's always, and that's something else we've been talking about, always behave like the people who make them. So that's another great quote that this particular person had as well. So like I said, I may reveal some other clues about them. And then some of the other mystery guests, which is actually a whole group, is REM was the first member to join this K-pop group. And the other person is Jimin was the last member to join this group. And Spring Day is the title track of the album You Never Walk Alone, which they were also part of as well. So if you think about your groups that are into that space, you might be able to figure it out. And then a member of this group is apparently ambidextrous. And another member, J Hope's dad, is a literary teacher and everything. And then they said, if you want to love others, I think you should love yourself first. So that is a great quote and one that I think many folks can agree with and all of that. And then something about being useful. They said those who want to look more useful should live life with a young heart. And I think you'll love this one as well. Both of you, it says, don't be trapped in someone else's dreams, because sometimes you can be trapped in other folks' dreams and not your own dreams. So think about those clues, and I could say next week I will reveal those folks, and hopefully folks will find out who they are and all of that. So definitely that is a standard contest that we have here. I did add 2 new ones this week and everything, and I will tell you what they are, and hopefully folks will participate in those as well. But the new ones that we just recently added, and I'll ask you to actually send it to the email if you're interested, is we all know earworms. Unfortunately, we've all heard them, whether it's the Macarena song or whether it's Don't Worry, Be Happy. It's those songs that just stay in your head, and they're not the greatest songs in the world and all of that. So one of the things that we're doing is asking you to give us those songs. And if you want to try to sing them, you can do that as well, even though we know that some people have not the greatest songs. But if you want to send them to me, send them to bluesradio@gmail.com. And if you don't want to do the songs that are the earworms, the other option that I was giving people was to think about somebody that is famous from history that you wish that you had known and had a chance to ask questions to, and what would those 2 questions be? I know some of these will probably be religious questions, but then there might be some people that got some heroes of theirs that might be surprising people. So definitely, if you want to think about those and send those emails to bluesradio@gmail.com, I will reveal those next week or in this upcoming episodes and all of that. So on those wrap-up notes, get ready to wrap everything up. And I want to thank all my guests, including Sandra and Aswan, for being on. And we just had some great conversations. So really quickly, if you've got any 30-second things that you want to just say as we get out the door, this is the time to do it. So Aswan, you've been here with me the longest, so I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Sandra. Any last words of just life or something that you want to share? Otherwise, we're going to get on out of here.
Man, I mean, honestly, if anybody want to connect with me, you can check out my website, aswanharris.com. That's ASWANHARRIS. aswanharris.com. It's the same thing on all social media for the most part, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, except there's an underscore after Aswan Harris. Somebody has my name. Don't know why. And yeah, just again, go out there, live your life, and be conscious in every decision that you make. Live in love.
Sandra, any final thoughts you want to share? Otherwise, I'm going to hit this airplane that gets us on out of here.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's when I will definitely connect with you. And thank you so Mark, for giving me the opportunity to be here with you and sharing this and learning as well so much from you. You can also contact me. I have a Linktree account. It's at Sandra on Gaia, GAIA. And yeah, if you're looking to travel to Peru, to the Amazon, to reconnect with nature, I am your gal. If you're looking to make an impact on this planet through supporting nature conservation, I am your gal as well. And if you're just looking for support and a talk and a coffee, virtual coffee, wherever you are, I'm here as well. And I just please, if you anything resonates with you, just contact me. And be kind, love yourself, love others, and let's unite. Everybody has a passion. Follow your passion and connect to the global mission, because each passion that we have as individuals connects for a global mission to become a true united global community, to support each other, to grow, and to be abundant in amazing sustainability on this planet. I love you.
I appreciate you.
One more thing. Check out Rebirth, the movie. It's on Amazon, iTunes, and all that stuff. Rebirth, the movie. Awesome. It's a horror movie.
Sounds good. Well, I'm actually on a selection committee for a horror movie festival that I'll be judging again this year. So I'm gonna have to talk to you about how to submit that for our next judging and all of that. So we got a lot of things to talk about as well. That's what I do. I network and I connect. So we got a lot of things to talk about.
We do. I look forward to it.
All right. Hold on, Sandra.
Hey, Mark.